Great. All right. So the recording is on. So let's go. Mabrika Dayakono, Kaikotekina Diri, Yamewani Kasike Iani. And what I've just shared is greetings, my people. My Taino name is Kaikotekino. It means island food teacher. And I am the chieftainess of Yamewani Taino peoples, which translate into Jamaican hummingbird Taino peoples. Welcome to a very exciting show. We have lots of greetings. We have presentations that are coming up that I'm excited to be a part of. And we are going to start the show after the anthem. We will get into housekeeping and then a little bit more greeting, and then we'll move into the agenda of the day, which we'll be taking greetings from 10 to 12, and then after 12 is the presentations, a short question and answer panel, and then that's it. We're gonna be inviting you into Woodside on a Sunday. So hopefully for those of you in Jamaica and those of you not even in Jamaica, based on what you see today, it will incite you to come to Woodside. So without further ado, it's our national anthem. Thank you very much. We will now be moving into the call for sacred directions. And as an extra special treat, what we have decided to do this time is to show you where it first began at Daddy Rock in Woodside. And this was done back in 2021. I think it was 2020. So please, without further ado, let's go. And as per usual, with everything that can happen, we will have technical difficulties. And so we will move into the back. Perfect.
Usekasi itiano, huma itunu, dayukunu.
Good day, brothers, sisters, my people.
Ikonye wakia yaka, wamun waperito, huma waraunu.
We are here today for the ancestors and our children.
Hahom karibe cement, huma Woodside Yukunu, Humun Tauroni Operito.
Thank you to Carib Cement and the Woodside community for remembering our ancestors.
Dasika labenani alukurun. Dasika pa. Seneko kakona.
I give the first blessing, and they give abundant blessings. Now we will do a call to the sacred directions. We turn to the south.
Wariko, Seminu.
Come, come, sacred spirits.
Wariko, Aketenu.
Come, come, grandmothers.
Wariko, Orokotino.
Come, come, grandfathers.
Wariko, Wahayona.
Come, come, sacred ancestors.
Wariko, Atabera.
Come, come, Mother Earth.
Wariko, Yukahuba Guama Orokoti.
Come, come, all who provides. Great provider.
Na here tiwa, Okamatina. They speak to us, and we will listen. For this is their space that we will honor. And Hankatu.
And so it is.
Thank you. That went well. I see the internet is working with us today. That was a throwback. My daughter, well, our daughter was, I think, a year and a half at that time, and now she's almost 6. So that was a throwback to Woodside when we just started, and that was Daddy Rock that has such a significant history that showcases the connection again between my Taino ancestors and our maroon relatives. Now, at the mention of maroon relatives, I would like to invite the prestigious, the one and only female colonel of a maroon community. I would love for Colonel Marcia Douglas to come on and share with us, bring greetings from your wonderful community that is like family for us. Not is like, it's family. It's family. When we go to Charlestown, we are at home. And so we welcome you to bring greetings from your community and tell us a little bit about events that you have coming up. You have 5 minutes, and after Colonel Douglas, it will be the wonderful Nicola Shirley from Source Farm. Go ahead, please.
Akwaba. Yankee Pong bless all smarty pray. Champon Nanny come sipping pepper. May the Queen of Heavens look down of us. God bless us all. Today, I bring greetings from Charlestown, from Yankunku Pikibo, from Yankunku Prandes. We are delighted to be a part of the Yamaye Guama Festival. I must call it that because it is extended. And so today, it is a blessing to be among the people, talking about our ancestors, highlighting our ancestors, teaching our children, teaching our community. And so this is what we, most likely interested in at all the time. Here in Charlestown, we have a lot going on as we are coming closer to our day of conference. But just before conference, there will be Cramanti Fest. And Cramanti Fest is done by Maurice Lee. And of course, it will be hosted in Charlestown this year. After Cramanti Fest, we'll have our own festival and conference, which begins from the 20th of June to the 23rd of June. We begin with the Taino Day, as our brothers and sisters has to be a part of us. So we begin with the Taino Day. Then after Taino Day, of course, it continues in the night. So, you have still wellness going on and all of that, Taino healing session, you name it. Then we have the panel discussions, and that's for the second day, where we have the panel discussion talking about, the people around us, talking about the different things in our environment. Interestingly, this year, though, our theme is the land. What can we use the land for? What is the purpose of the land? How do we use the land? Do we know our land tenure? What is important about the land to us? Does the government see us as the owners of the land, or they just see us as passing through our lands? So those are some of the interesting things that will come out. Hopefully we'll have Muta Baruka who will actually MC that part of it, where we have the town hall. People voice their opinion on the land. We have, and moving on in the night, we have more wellness, of course. And of course, that would be the 22nd. So that would be roots, rock, reggae, and bonfire. Now, the bonfire is where we burn around that fire with the extent of drum to a higher level. You can feel the rhythm of the drum. You can feel the presence of the ancestors. You can feel every word coming out of the song. And so we'll have that this year. And after that, young talents. So the children, the youth in our community that can sing, DJ, poem, would show off their talent. Then the next day would be 2 celebration in one, which is a Kwao Day, Kwao Victory Day, and the Victory Day, where all the colonels would be gathered, Maroons from all over. I've been getting different calls already for different types of people. So just imagine all the nation of African people come together celebrating. And so we'll have that. We'll have where we'll highlight Ancestor Kwao and, of course, the victory of signing the peace treaty. And so we get to express ourselves even as Yamaye Council of Indigenous People. We get to express ourselves to bring a solid greetings to our people to ensure that they realize that we as leaders, as Indigenous leaders, we work together for the good of our communities and our country. After that, of course, our days continue. So we continue back with our regular tour of our museum. That comes with drumming and dancing. We do have the river and the river park. We do have the mountains. We take care of the animals around. And I must say, on Taino Day, we'll have that little petting session with those animals. Hopefully, I get to hold that parakeet again today. So, we'll have that session where the children comes alive. And believe me, when you look at them, you see what your input is. You see what you actually put out there, and you see the nature and the way of putting other things out there for our children to go on. As we continue to keep things alive, we said we are from the Abeng to the internet. And so you'll hear this continuous sound of the Abeng when you come here, as well as during that period of time. And it is just reminding us that the time of our poor parents was the Abeng, but we are now living in an internet world where we have to measure up, but we don't put away our tradition. And of course, the Sankofa bird is a perfect lesson for that. And we are learning also to use our unlimited, our ancestral inheritance to make unlimited wealth. So you will see a lot of food, let me use the term that they're using now, the gastronomy. You will see craft, you will see other things displaying. If you don't know how to play domino, this year you'll learn, because there is also going to be a domino tournament and a community day, which is the Saturday. And we are also going to highlight our elders, where we're doing a treat for them, trying to get medical assistance for them and give them those things. There's also a football tournament. Hey, I know we can play football, you know. We often play football. And if you check it out, we play football almost every day, but with our eyes. Let's see if we can do it with our feet. And so that's another joyous time. Not to mention Picky Brandes, Maroon Picking, they have the ring game inside. So if you want to remember your past and to remember where you're coming from and to remember the ring games you used to play, you can join in on that. So I must say it was really wonderful, and I enjoy so far every moment of the program already, and I know I'll enjoy more as I say Medasi. Medasi. Thank you.
And Hankatu, and so it is. Thank you so much, Ahom, Colonel Douglas. As per usual, a wonderful, very enriching and enough, lots and lots of nice things that's going to happen at Charlestown this year. And as per usual, we can't wait. It's like our event just kickstart all of the niceness from Coil. We start in May and it ends in October with Moortown. And so in that spirit, I am now going to call on another sister of mine. When we go there, that's listen, by the end of the greetings, honestly, I think you're going to believe that we don't have no abiding city. But I want you to remember that as Tainos, we did travel. You know, we traveled all the way from South America, coming all the way into the Caribbean and all of that. And so in the spirit of traveling, another one of our lovely homes is Source Farm. That's in St. Thomas, the east of the island, right? And so if Nicola, my sister, is online. And so again, welcome. Please tell us a bit about Source Farm. Bring your greetings and what kind of niceness that we can expect in the Eco Village. Thank you.
Greetings, everybody. Greetings. And I bring greetings from the Source Farm Eco Village, our intentional community here in St. Thomas, but also another addition to the work that we do. I'm also physically at the GWG Organic Resource Station, and I'm bringing greetings from the mighty tree. I don't know if you can see this huge guango tree that has asked us to come and to steward this land. So we bring greetings from the natural world and greetings from all the people that are at Source Farm in our intentional community. Source Farm has been around for about actually almost going on 18 years that we've been here. And we were blessed enough to have guidance from the ancestors to establish an intentional community to kind of open the way and show the way of how we can do this, living in community with not just each other, but with the land, and being able to tap into the wisdom of the ancestors and wisdom of the plant spirits that are all around us that want us to reconnect. And so it's from that space, this is where we're coming from. So Source Farm does a lot of different kind of work. We talk about appropriate technology and, again, the spiritual connection to the ancestors and Orisha and the lands we steward. And we always are sharing any guidance and wisdom that we get with not just people in Jamaica, but across the world that wants to come and listen. And so we're really, really grateful to have the opportunity to join in with our brothers and sisters in all across Jamaica and also across the world that are reaching out in this is a very important day. And I'm really, really grateful to all the people that put this together, because the last time you guys had this, I was overwhelmed to see the other intentional communities that are across the world and realize that we're not here by ourselves and that we have those connections. So I thank you and I greet each of you from wherever you stand and wherever the lands that you're stewarding on the planet. So again, just thanking you. The activities that we have coming up for the year, we'll be having another intentional communities gathering. So for other people that want to share and deepen their connection with how do we create community in this time, which is all about community and getting back into community, we're going to be having another event in September, and we'll be doing a natural building cob workshop in January. So people are interested in that. And then also for people in Jamaica, we partner with Jamaica Organic Agriculture and the Ministry of Agriculture. We're going to be going across the 14 parishes, setting up demonstration sites to teach you how to get reconnected, how to use better land practices if you want to do farming, and learning about the medicinal plants that are around you, how to set up good land stewardship on your farm. So if you're interested in participating, please do contact us, because we'll be working in about 7 parishes this year and bringing all kinds of wonderful information, education, also about creating community again with all the people that are vibrating on the frequency of love and frequency of taking care of this planet. So we're just really grateful and thankful for this opportunity to be again with family for the day. So I look forward to not just today, but also on Sunday when we actually gather in person and to make those reconnections. And thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much, Nicola. Nicola is one who doesn't really speaks, talks about all of her achievements. And so another aspect of her is that she's also a high priestess. She's an Iya, and we're also working very closely together. And so with that, again, thank you so much, Nicola. And so we're going to move across to our international relative, Baby Ayo, and she will be bringing greetings from Yukayeki Aweni. Please go ahead.
Taumatia atiano, ituno, kena itiano. Bomatum kena seneko kakona, diri bibi aya. Agweni yukayeke da irikia. Boriken luko kairi taino kaura daka. Good afternoon, brothers, sisters, and relatives. Great and generous and abundant blessings. My name is Bibi Aya, of Yukayeke Agweni, which are our tribe, and I am of Boriken Luko Kairi Taino lineage. I am only going to speak briefly because I have to leave. I had a confusion over the time of the inauguration. We are an hour difference, but I could not leave without extending our love and blessings to everyone who will be at that areito, and to get to know you. It's my dearest hope that next year I will be able to join you in person, and hopefully with other members of our Yukayeke. I am the elder and the matriarch of the Yukayeke. We have membership in Boriken, aka Puerto Rico, as well as the other islands in the Caribbean and in the diaspora. As I said, I really could not leave without sending greetings. It really brings joy to my heart. I expressed this to Cacique Calang. It really brings joy when I see our brothers and sisters throughout the Caribbean holding on to their traditions, to their legacy, to their culture and language. We're currently working on our particular dialect of our language, and that's why I wanted to share the greeting in our language. I have been here burning tabonuco. I don't know if you can see it. I'm putting it towards We've been burning tabonuco and tobacco and sending lots of good energy and prayers your way. And I just want everyone to know that my home is open and you're welcome. All those who are of good heart. I would like to learn more about your particular traditions and share mine as well. And I really look forward to that. And I leave you with Ansihi, Anakano, Masinato Keno Seneko Kakona, Amunto Makoa, Waboka Kena Imeguabo. Love, hugs, peace, and abundant blessings to all, now and always. And I will close with may all the directions, may Creator bless you all now and always.
Thank you, sister.
Yes, I know that Bibi Naru had visited you on the island and Bibi Karaira, but hopefully I'll be able to come next year.
Yes, definitely. And Bibi Carrera is not with us
I
today in
know,
person,
but
but
she's with us in spirit.
she's with us in spirit. And also, I'm wearing this top is specifically from her.
Mhm.
It's my way, our way of just being a little bit closer, having her a little bit closer,
Yes.
in spirit and in person. Thank you so much for that wonderful sharing, and we also look forward to receiving you and sharing in the cultural exchange. Hopefully we can do something together with Y Coil. We have all of these cultural exchanges, and you'll be surprised to see, or not surprised, that a lot of our cultural activities are very similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've known Cacique Galang for quite a few years now.
Mm.
And we are so proud of the progress and the work that he's done on the island. And we hope it continues and it gets passed on to this generation and future generations.
Yes, it is our responsibility to do so. And he's with us. He's just in a different capacity today.
You know, we've been texting back and forth.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your sharing and your greetings. And in the spirit of being international with our relatives, we will now move on to Amota Kantuta, and she brings greetings from the Council of Healers of the Americas. Welcome, Ahom Mabrika.
Kylie, turikuna ñañaykuna, napaykuyki, tukuy sonkoywan, tukuy munaywan. Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, definitely.
¿Cómo están, hermanos, hermanas? Una gran alegría, great happiness, great joy to see you, to hear you, your wisdom words. Well, now I am very far from home. Now I am at Ushuaia, is the southest uh, city of South America. We're at 500 kilometers from Antarctica. We are here in a huge ceremony for the runners who take chaskis, we name them. They are running for peace and dignity from our indigenous people and the whole world people. And so we have been in 3 days of ceremony, and they are running now. I am so glad, so happy to be here and to desire very huge future for Taino, Caribe Taino people. We live in brotherhood. I belong to Quechua Ayllu community from Buenos Aires, but we belong to Andean lands, to the mountains, to the Andes. and there at the Anden Heart we meet before you go with your boats through the river to those to that paradise that I don't know how to tell it. We say Jamaica, but its name, well, I indigenous name, I don't know it, but you surely you have it. We have been knowing about your cultures from Brother Callahan. He shows us the way of uh, Caribe Taino people. And we feel very, very near because we at all our people is walking at uh, the defense of our waters, our rivers, our seas. We are praying constantly for the no contamination, for the no exploding the mountains, for the healthy food to show as well to our children to know Mother Earth's contact. Well, we knew from Brother Callahan your um, love from Yukahu, and we feel it the same. And to Pachamama, that you have another name, but is that lives in a cave near the sea, but it's the same for us, the same love to other elders, to other spirits of the lands of the universe. Uh, they make us brothers and sisters. So our desire is to have a very, very nice new year and to grow in every directions. That the contact with the nature, the heavens, all the animals, the plants will be each day stronger, and we are gathered in only one mind, only one heart, and our hands are one. And so it is one spirit, love spirit, in ancestral indigenous spirit. So a huge greeting, and we love you, brothers and sisters. Tinkuna kamakachin, tupanas chiskama son koiwan, until a new meeting. Kylie, Kayaya.
Aile, Aile. Thank you so much. We receive, we receive everything and we hold it within our hearts. And so we're gonna take things a little bit. We're gonna bring it back home. We're gonna bring it back home. Another space that we, again, another one of our homes that we're very comfortable in, is in the mountains of Scotsall. Now, Scotsall is right around the road from Woodside. You can almost, as what we would say in Jamaica, take a stone and just throw it over there from Woodside and just drop. Maybe if the person has a good arm, that could throw that stone over Scotsall. But again, another one of our relatives. And so this person, Deante Livingston, I just want to tell you, say he's one of the most hilarious persons I've ever met. The way how he phrases his sentences and bring across serious issues in a way, it you are able to digest it, assimilate it within yourself, and really think about where is this going, what will it do for me. And so it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Deante Livingston from the Scotsall Community Development Committee to bring greetings. Please, Deante, go ahead.
Hi everyone, greetings. Thank you so much for that, Chiefs and Ernest. For today, however, I'll be sharing in two capacities. I'll be sharing for the CDC and also on behalf of the Scots Maroons. Thank you so much for that. Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Deontay Livingston, and I am the Secretary of the Scots CDC and also the Assistant Secretary to the Secretary of the Scots Maroon. And I am honored to bring greetings from the vibrant and historic community of Scots Now, on behalf of the two capacities that I'm sharing today, I want to say an heartfelt gratitude for the invitation to us to join this occasion. Thank you so much for that. And as we gather to start the celebration of the anniversary for the Taino community, this is a testament of the resilience and enduring spirit of our indigenous heritage. Our communities, though distinct in many ways, share a profound connection through our rich histories and cultures. These celebrations are not just events, they are a affirmation of our existence and our unwavering commitment to preserving and nurturing our cultures and our legacies. The Scots Maroons have long been known for our valor in defending our lands and tradition, and we recognize the same strength and dedication in the Taino community. Together, we stand as guardians of our shared heritage, working towards a future where our culture will continue to strive and occupy the prominent space and place that they deserve on this island. So, let us celebrate our opportunities to deepen our bonds, celebrate our achievements, and inspire future generations to carry forward the torch of our ancestors with pride and determination. Once again, I want to say thank you for the invitation, and may our collaboration and unity grow stronger, and may our communities continue to shine brightly. Blessings and respect to all. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Deontay. Well appreciated, and with all that gratitude. And like I said, Scotsall is again just a stone throw from Woodside. You know, you can't reach the Woodside unless you pass through Scotsall. And so you get to see even more the connection that we have with our maroon relatives. And so speaking on the connection, we'll now move on to Ivan Ransom of POP movement, and POP means protects our planet. Now, the relationship that has built with the cacique and POP is one that started very simple. It was just a request to speak on the climate justice and the changes and the effects that is taking place, and it blossomed into more of a really beautiful relationship of honor, respect, and gratitude between both our community and POP. And so please welcome Ivan. Please share your greetings and about POP.
Thank you so much, Cacique Yani, and thank you so much, family, for receiving me here. As you have mentioned, we at the POP movement are pleased to have met, beginning with Cacique and now like the extended family. I have been also had the privilege to be invited to another of the celebrations that you have made. And I'm really surprised about the richness of your culture that I was not aware before. Like, where at the POP movement have valued so much the participation of Cacique and yours in our different events, in the book chapter, in the different communications, talks, events, and also every time that we come across, we learn so much from you. And you know, one of the things that struck me at the beginning with one of the first lectures of Cacique was, he said, you know, it took the Western society, the Western civilization, like 2000 and something years to come up with the conclusions about SDGs that we, the original peoples, the indigenous communities, have known for millennia. So it is mind-blowing how all of this knowledge that was already there and that it's like common sense. You have been living with harmony with nature for so long, doing things there in the right way, how they should be. And in even when that was happening in these beautiful spaces, sacred spaces that you live in, the rest of the civilization was destroying the world and was doing things in the wrong way. So I'm really humbled and happy to be able to learn from you and to be part of this celebration. Is not something that happens, every day. The peace and dignity journey also, I've been following it online at least, and I've been happy to see how it started. I started seeing like the walks from Alaska to begin with, and yeah, it is so amazing for me and for us. I will say, I want to convey Dr. Ash and the Pop family gratitude towards you for receiving us, for having us here, and for giving us the opportunity of working together, of collaborating, of having your wisdom also in our events, and for being so close to us. So thank you so much for this opportunity, for being there with us and for us. And we will be here also for you in any way that we can support you. Thank you so much.
A home gratitude, Ivan. I mean, your words are powerful, and it is one that, as indigenous peoples, it is our responsibility to ensure that the relationship we have with our land keeps going, and is one that we teach our generations. In our Taino culture, we speak towards teaching for the next generation. So it doesn't just stop with us, it will continue for each successive generation to teach for the next 7 generations. So again, thank you for your words. And in gratitude, I will now move on to one of the most, I don't know how to express my thoughts on her voice. When she's speaking, it is soft, it is quiet, and it beckons you to listen. But when she sings, her voice takes you to a whole different level. And so we're going to move into a break, and our break will be with one of our very own community member, Olivia Wilmot of Earth and the Fullness. And I will leave Olivia to share with us. We're here for what you want to bring. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. So Olivia, you have the screen.
Okay, give thanks. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. So it's a joy to be here. And yes, I'm really hoping to be able to share 2 songs in this little break here. So I'm going to jump into it and just praying that the music does for you what it is supposed to do, what it's intended to do. So give thanks for the greetings brought by everyone, and for this beautiful gathering, and for the continued resurgence and, being in our original ways, right? It can feel like this world is a little unclear, but wanting to make things right is often a function of fear. Let's go in solitude whisper something I can't turn down. Lift me into your light. Make it so illusion is the past and crown me king of my own heart. Guide me surely, great unfolding. Lead me, show me along the way that's only mine. Whisper something I can't turn down. Lift me into your light. Make it so illusion is the past and crown me king of my own heart. Whisper something I can't turn down. Simple knowing is the path, and I am the way and the heart. Ooh. Oh. Thank you, love, for showing me the ways to heal in this time. Thank you, Jah, for patiently awaiting my insight. Love is true, I have heard and found it to be so. May I be shining light, still listening tomorrow. Gratitude spilling over. A new return twice over. Love that I have for you, guidance that you make true. Gratitude spilling over. Gently you, sometimes stern, but never beyond reach. Call me and lead me on, though you're still beside me. Nature, your loving arms, feeling how you speak. Sound and power, loving me beyond what we can reach. Gratitude spilling over. A new return twice over. Love that I have for you, guidance that you make true. Gratitude spilling over, 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 over. Ooh, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Give thanks.
Woo! Who else enjoyed that? I just want you to understand that you're listening to that sweet voice. That's a true blue Yamaye Taino. Her heritage is steep in it. Again, what I will realize that a lot of our community members don't really speak a lot about themselves. But Olivia, that is amazing individual. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about Earth and the Fullness, the inspiration behind gratitude, and I think the first song was Whisper. Yes, just a two minutes sharing.
Okay, greetings everyone. All right, so give thanks, Kasi Kayani, and to everyone for listening. So my name is Olivia, and yes, my paternal great grandmother and great great grandmothers are Taino women, and there's still so much more to learn, but I definitely feel a very deep connection with the land here, Jamaica, and so it's been a joy to really learn and grow and explore this connection. So my band or my music project, Earth and the Fullness, is really just about these the more you come into a truth about something is not necessarily the more complex that it gets, it's just the more profound that it gets. And that is what Earth and the Fullness stands for, tapping into, standing in the fullness of the learning, the joy, the revelation, the wisdom revealed to us in this time. And it's very much a spiritual journey for me. And so, in sharing it with everyone, I hope to bring strength to you on your path, joy and peace, and that's what the music brings for me as well. And I definitely feel connected to more than just what you can see and touch and smell here in this time once we're stepping into the musical realm. So if you feel that as well, Earth and the Fullness, you can follow on Instagram. Also have some beautiful videos up on YouTube. 99% of them done by my husband, Aisha Wilmot. And so really highlighting the beauty of Jamaica, and the love that's here. Also recently released my first album, Blue Mantle, which is out on all platforms. First EP came out in 2022. It's called Yuya, which is a Taino word meaning the guiding light within. So give thanks for that connection, and definitely give thanks for Yamaye and the works that are being done by the UKUK. So blessed love everyone. Check out music and support the journey. That's why it's here. Blessed love.
Give thanks, gratitude, ahom, and ahoma, which mean many thanks. Again, love the inspiration behind what you do. And what I find going on these days is that a lot of us who are reconnecting with our indigenous heritage or heritage overall, we find that our purposes as individuals are changing. And so a lot of the work that we're doing from that space is so, I find it to be more enriching, more pleasing to those who are doing it, and for those who are on the receiving end of that work. And so again, I express that in the space of your music is wonderful. When we're doing our long country trip drives, let me tell you, our daughter knows gratitude. It is a staple.
Wonderful,
It is
wonderful.
a
That's
staple
great.
our, on our track. And we have another person that's coming up later on in the program. That one is again another staple. So I'm looking forward to all of this. Again, a home thank you, Olivia. And now we'll be tapping back into our greetings, and this will be from Audrey Christian from the cultural group Juku Jume Maro. Please let me know if I pronounce it properly. Again, she is from Suriname or Suriname relative, and I also had the pleasure of meeting her sister last year when we visited St. Lucia via the Caribbean Development Bank Indigenous Forum Day. Again, lovely, lovely, lovely. And it's always a great experience to meet relatives. So, Audrey, the space is yours. Thank you so much. Audrey, you are muted. If you are talking, you are muted. And Audrey, we are not hearing you. I hear a little something. We're not hearing you, but for those of us that you're seeing the screen, this is the cultural group that Audrey represents. And so while she gets in gear, you know, technology always have a way of just interrupting the flow, but we will not be defeated. So let's see if we can get Audrey's mic going. Can you hear us? Can you type in the chat and let us know if you're hearing us? Because we're not hearing you. All right. I am not hearing you, Audrey. Oh, she rejoined. Okay. So like I said, we will not be defeated.
Do you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we are hearing.
Okay. Yes. Do you see me? All right.
No, your video. Yes, I see it.
Okay. I was on my laptop, so I checked out of that, and I'm now on my telephone. I don't know what went wrong. Yes. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I'm hearing you.
All right. Okay. First, I want to say some few words in the Cariña language. Yuparupo yasakarakong tuaramando, yupa, awu yupawa. That means, how are you, my people? Are you okay? I am okay. Yes, I'm the chairwoman of the culture group you see on the screen. And yes, we sing Cariña song, different Cariña songs with the drum, with the maraca, and also at rituals of our deceased ones. Yes, I want to thank you for this invitation, and I am honored to be here today to attend this special meeting of the Indigenous New Year of the Taino people. Okay, and we also have our Indigenous New Year, and that is next month, June, and we call it Ipatuimbo, and that is when the 7 stars appears in the sky. We say the 7 sisters, and there is a story behind this. Here in our talking our oral history, and one of the story is that of my place where I come from, the region where I come from, that is when this they know that this month appears and this day appears, then our payay, our shaman, he is prepared for this day. And this day, and on that special day, he goes to the river. We have a river we call Kopanama River or Kupanama in the Karinya language, and the TBT River. And between on this where the two river meets, he has contact with the spirit of the water, and he goes with his rattles with other people and also with the drum, and he makes music, and they begin to sing maraca songs. And then the shaman or the piyay, we say payay, he jumps into the river and celebrate this day with the spirit of the water. And on this day, we celebrate the meaning of this. That means cleansing, healing, also sharing your food with the people, the other people, and it's also a period of harvest, a new beginning. So that is what I want to say. I don't know if it has similarities with the Taino people, but that's how it is in our for the Karinya peoples. So I can speak on this occasion for our rituals, our ceremony on that day. So that is what I want to share with you. Yes, and I'm honored once again to be here, and that means a new beginning also for the people of the Caribbean, the indigenous people of the Caribbean, to come together and to share their different ceremonies and the different rituals. And that means that we are connecting together and share our rituals, our heritage, but also the restoration of our culture that had been damaged through the years by the colonization. So it is a pleasure for me also to help with my group and with other indigenous experts here, language expert, and also pottery and clothing. It will be an honor for me to share this cultural heritage with you all, because we have the Karinya people are only one group, but you have 17 different groups here in Suriname. You have the Lokono group that are the Arawaks, the Karinya groups, and you have the Waraos and other smaller groups. But we are one. That is what I want to say. Yes. Hello.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you have shared, and it just goes to show the level of connections that we have, or people share and have, because yesterday was the Huya Kishibe Kati. That's our rain full moon, and the full moon in Jamaica, it's traditionally our rainy season, and it begins in May and it extends to June, going up to at least November, December. This is the time when the hummingbird, which we call wani or colibri or zum zum, the breeding seasons end. And just to touch a little bit on the astronomy for us. Again, just connecting the fact that we are dispersed as a people, but we're not disconnected. It's the repetitive movement of the heavens and long periods of observations that allow the Tainos to note their regularities and make record of time. They were said to have recorded and developed these measurements into an astronomical calendar using the megaliths. It is speculated they used the stars at night to navigate on the seas during their journeys to the Caribbean and fishing. And so with science coming now to prove what we have always known, again, I was a part of a workshop very recently that touched on indigenous science. And I couldn't believe the two could actually meet. Because there's research now that is proving that what we as indigenous people know, they're facts. So when you look at it, we could be considered the first scientists of the land, because our relationship makes it even a little bit more than science, because we have a relationship to the land, sea, and the cosmos. And again, I wanted to make a link with the rising of the Pleiades star cluster. Again, this also happens in May. And last year in St. Lucia, I remember Chief Colin Cloutley of Goib. He was just a little bit sad, because he was saying he wasn't in his home country to be able to do the ceremonies of meeting the Seven Sisters. And so I found that just even hearing and sharing a part of that, and he was also sharing about the language, I found it that it connected so much, and we even offered to share this with us so we can share it with you where we are on our lands also. And so Audrey, again, thank you so much. And I hope those that are hearing are realizing more and more that we are dispersed but not disconnected. And so
Yes,
now yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. And I want to sing a song, a Maraca song.
Yes,
that is the song of our Payay. To end my my part. Yes. Yes. Erotene marakara, marakara. Erotene marakara, marakara. Erotene marakara, marakara, marakara. Erotene marakara, marakara. Erotene marakara, marakara. Erotene marakara, marakara, marakara. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you for that beautiful medicine song. Ahom. Again, we receive it within our hearts, and we're very grateful that you shared this with us today. Ahom, Audrey. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Yes.
Yes. And now we will be sharing in the viewing of a conversation that took place between the cacique and the first man and Arlene of Rastafari Indigenous Village.
Seem to be present here with us right here, and I know there's a lot of confusion where this is concerned. So a simple was cleared up, and I know that simple everyone else can be cleared up as well. So the person who contacted me, I work with this brethren more than one time in terms of the work that he does with plant medicine.
Yes? And that's Kalan. I don't know if that's the name everyone knows Kalan by, but we don't say I have one next name too. So we want to just put our hands together and listen to the story. I don't know if Kalan is going to present, but Kalan is one. So here to speak about two things. First is our initiative here, which is and also about the peace and unity. Prayer starts with the guys that we are moving in. Their significance, the meaning, and behind the ceremony, and why there's a strong resurgence of indigenous people, and even the use of the term indigenous in this day and age. So to begin, the narrative was taught that the Tainos were extinct, that they were all murdered, and that when the Spanish were being attacked by the British, the enslaved went up into the mountains and became the first Maroons. The assumption was made that all of those enslaved people were only Africans. They forgot about, from that point, the first people that were here. The first set of Maroons were actually the indigenous people of this land, the Tainos. That is why we have the retention of certain medicines. Any of you here is aware of the plant Search Maha? It's only in Jamaica, nowhere else in the world. Right? That medicine and knowledge of that medicine was passed down from my ancestors, the indigenous people of this land, to other generations, because we had similar concepts of what indigenous is. And that is where I'm glad to speak here in Rastafari Indigenous Village on this topic of the Tainos, on this topic of what it is to be indigenous, and on this topic of this prayer run. Because the main focus of it is peace and dignity. Now for the Taino people, dignity was stripped from a lot of us throughout the Caribbean. In other islands, the Spanish speaking, because they still spoke Spanish, there was more retention in those communities. For us, we lost so much because I switched from one set of colonizers to another set of colonizers. So the records that the Spanish have, not many pay attention to them. That spoke towards 74 Tainos in 1611 that went to the abbot to be for confession. That is not something that is openly spoken about. It is hidden. It is white. They call it paper genocide, right? And what happened is there are several prophecies that were kept in oral tradition. And these prophecies spoke towards the 24th generation coming up. And in that generation, there will be a resurgence. And we come again to usher in a time of peace. Now, how is this connected to the peace and dignity journey, to these staffs, to these prayer runs? Elders from Borinquen, which is the indigenous name of Puerto Rico, that have reclaimed their Taino identity and was working on that dignity, became aware of this prayer run. And they decided that for the prophecy to come into place, the Tainos, who were the first to be colonized in this region, had to be a part of this ceremony. They became aware of it, and that this ceremony started in 1992. When the United States was looking towards 500 years since discovery, the indigenous people decided that we needed to do something to show that we are still here, right? That we're not extinct, that this is our land. So they met in Ecuador and was doing ceremony there. And while doing ceremony, they started to speak around the fire about their prophecies. And there are several prophecies that spoke about the eagle of the north and the condor of the south coming together again. And when these two birds come together, it would usher in a time of peace throughout the Americas and from there throughout the world. Because we'd bring people back to the medicine of the earth, to the medicine of Mother Earth, the four winds from the four directions, and Father Sky. Bring them back to honoring the fire that is here and the fireplace and the sacredness of it. So from that ceremony there in Ecuador around the fireplace, they decided that what we will do is we'll have a prayer and we will bring this prophecy into fruition. We'll connect these indigenous peoples throughout the lands. So a tribe would start from the top of the Americas in Alaska, and another tribe would start from Argentina. And in 1992, they ran throughout the Americas and met together in Mexico. And along the way, they were hosted by other indigenous communities. And through sharing stories around the fireplace, something was awakened. There were tribes that had lost their language, that realized they had relatives further south, so the language was reclaimed. They had lost ceremonies, and they realized that another tribe was carrying those ceremonies, so those ceremonies were reclaimed. And when the Tainos joined, we realized that there was so much that we had shared with those throughout the Americas, and it was time for us to reclaim ours as well. So there's been language resurgence. The Garifuna tribe, that is a mixture of Africans and the Kalinago people, what they call, the taught us in school as the Island Caribs, have a male language that is indigenous and the female language, and female language hold elements for our Taino ancestors. So through these connections, through connecting with our relatives, we started to see more of the story unfold. And we realized that this is something that we as Taino people, we have to bring to the islands to connect each other and to hold that energy here, to hold that space here, to attract our relatives as well. So in 2012, Boina Atabe, the grandmother circle, they entered into the peace and dignity journeys and had a staff. When the opportunity comes up, you guys can go over there and hear about the stories of each prayer staff. And that prayer staff was specific to the waters. That was the run in 2012. And while there, they connected with other tribes, and that opened the gateway for them to invite Jamaica to be a part of Peace and Dignity Journey through the Sankofa Shrine House. And thanks to Nana Kara Kofi Miller, who invited the Tainos to this island to share, again, to bring that awakening. This is all a part of a prophecy that said that this would happen, this must happen. And a lot of times we get this feeling, this pull, be it blood memory to our dreams, be it signs from the animals around us, be it something that we hear from medicine or songs, and we don't act upon it, we don't speak upon it, we keep it to ourselves. And then when someone else says, yeah, that kind of makes sense, I was feeling that too. But it was for us to share as well, to come together as one and to share that message. One of our elders that's over there keeping fire now had shared that one fire stick can't cook pot, right? You have to put several of them together to allow that heat. And that is what this Peace and Dignity Journey is about. So the initiative here in Jamaica, Run Taino Run, came after the 2016 run with the first delegation from Jamaica, running from New York, myself and my sister Velva, all the way to Panama, learning, relearning, breaking away the borders of colonization, so that we could bring this medicine here, this ceremony here, and get the support from our relatives. So today, this is the second staging, the second Run Taino Run that is taking place on this island. We ran to the east last year, and this year we're running the west. We start in Emancipation Park, and we end in Civil. And while we're running prayer staffs with different prayers from different communities. So we have 3 communities represented here from overseas. We have Otomi, Chichimeca, and Mexica. And our relatives came here with other prayer staffs to support us. So we'd like to give a big thanks to Rastafari Indigenous Village and to those that are here, that is hearing this story. Because this is how medicine works. This is how the message gets shared. Because someone will say to you that the Tainos are no more, and these ways are not here. And you can say that you saw with your own eyes that this medicine is here, that these people are here, and they're continuing their tradition. So with that, I'll ask my brother Danny to come and share a song.
Whew. Yes. Thank you. And so it was again imperative that we took the time to share in our continuance as a people, celebrating that. I don't know if I shared it in the beginning of the program that our theme this year is celebrating 1,424 years on Yamaye Island. Did I do that? I'm not quite sure I did, but that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And so we just wanted to share with our relatives, our Maroon relatives, our Rasta relatives, that, hey, we've always been here. Let's have that conversation. Let's share in some of the things that you know, that we know, and you will see that, one, there is a stark difference with the Taino culture and African culture, but there is a similarity that ties us together as Indigenous people in the way how we look at our culture, in the way how we live. Because one thing I have realized as an individual is that everywhere you go, and you'll meet an Indigenous person or a Caribbean person, you'll be able to identify them just by the way how they talk, the way how they share their food, the way how they talk about food, the way how they share their family connections, and just there's an openness about us that is undeniable. And so you saw the conversation at Rastafari Indigenous Village. Let us now have Arlene Mackenzie of Rastafari Indigenous Village to bring greetings. Welcome, Arlene.
Greetings, welcome everyone. Thank you for the lovely presentation of the village that you showed. It was such a pleasure for us to host the Taino community on that first journey. On that very first journey, we shared a lot because it was not just a one-day event, it was overnight. We look forward, it was perhaps one of our first retreats, and we look forward to doing many more since then. We recognize the unity, we recognize the partnership, and we just know we're going to do more things together. And this, you know, we have to, this is not just national, but it's international, it's global. So we're taking our partnership that we've developed and the pathways to developing those partnerships to look at how we can build on it, firstly in the Caribbean and then globally, because these are very important linkages and we don't want to lose them. We're reviving and renewing and reconstituting and realigning ourselves. It's perfect. It's a full moon and it's everything that we need to move our way selves forward. Greetings from the Rastafari Indigenous Village.
Give thanks. Give thanks.
Yes. Thank you so much, Arlene. Again, I'm always experiencing that level of happiness. Like when you say, long time you don't see your family and you are just ready for just hang up and greet. That is how I feel every single time I see one of our relatives. So remember, I tell you, as Taino, we were travelers and my family, we bounce from home to home. So Rastafari in Indigenous Village is one of those homes that we bounce. So we bounce everywhere. You know, everywhere we go, there is home. And thank you so much again, Arlene. So we're going to break the scene a little bit. And if it's one thing you'll know about the Pyramid family is that we do everything as a family. So you'll see myself and our daughter Tanamari at different events, or you'll see us as a family, you know, singing, dancing, carrying on. And so our daughter didn't want to be left out of all of these festivities, and so she created along with her father this little story. So please catch a laugh, catch a snicker, or just feel warm-hearted. You know, just check it out, view it.
Man is the experience of the forest and rivers.
Okay.
And Tachiman was a great warrior for the indigenous Taino people that lives near that forest. And some jaguars and seals were near there. And the Tachiman was walking by those Taino people home. And he said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am the great warrior of Tachiman." And that's how it is. And Tachiman was going to a river that was near their home. And Katiman was walking near their home and said, "Who are you?" "I am Katiman. I'm going to a river to swim and relax." And they said, "Okay, we will let you in and don't disappear. There's some giant crocodiles in there. Watch out. Look, wait, they might bite you." And they said, "I am a great warrior, Fatima. I can bite anything." "Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, call in and you see." And then he goes into the river and a crocodile snapped at him. And he said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Tachiman." Click. And said, "What is that?" "I am Tachiman." Crocodile, the spirits. No, and the crocodile of the river. And who are you again? Tachiman, a warrior. It's fun to the end.
And just so you're aware, all of that story came from her head. I have to give big up and thanks to the audiovisual person and the graphics. That was Chief Kalan. And when the two came together and created this masterpiece, we decided that yes, we need to spread it and share it. So, what do you say? All right. Thank you so much. And that was the break. You can go back now, go finish up schoolwork. Yes, you can go ahead and do that. Thank you again. So we are going to take a 2-minute break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna have as extra special guests. All our guests are special and all our guests are extra special. But how do I put it? How do I put it? Help me out. I don't want. Listen, I want every one of our guests to feel extra special. So I don't want anybody to feel like I'm gonna put some extraness on his name when he comes on. But I'm excited for him to come and share. So just a 2-minute break, and then we're gonna have Sheldon Shepherd of the Nomads that's gonna come on and he will share. So just a 2-minute break. Everybody can get up, drink some water, stretch your legs, don't get that cramp going on, and then come back in 2 minutes. Thank you so much. So 2 minutes is going to take us to 11:33, and then we're going to jump right back into the flow of things. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience.
One 1,424 years of Dominican time history. 1,424 years of Dominican time history.
The Don, welcome. Please go ahead.
Enough respect. Enough respect. Hold on, let me turn on my video. Greetings and love, my people. Yusaka say, the Dan Shepherd, the Ray. I did in 2021, we did Jamaica Independence celebration, independence from British rule. I think it was what, 59 years, 60 years independence from British rule. But now we're celebrating 1,440, much? 9 years, 42 years, is it?
24 years, 1,424 years.
424 years. Wow. You know, and such a rich history to be a part of. So when I reach out to the chief, when they gave me a script with all English, and I reach out to the chief. Michael Holgate gave me the chief's contact, and I reached out to Callan, and I said, I need help, because in order for me to do this thing, and I like to do these things in an authentic manner. So in order for me to do this thing and represent and feel like I actually, did justice to the memory and the journey of the indigenous people, I would want to speak the tongue. So I sent him the script, and he converted. And I opened by saying, Yusaka se Amiro Diri. And that should be, good day, my name is Amiro. Kasike Yukayake Yamaye Gwanidaka, chief of Jamaican hummingbird people I am. Fabrika Donaida Yukayeke. Welcome to my community. It was such a, and it felt so stronger. It felt, it's like, I don't know, that moment was so real for me, in the costume, they tried their best to make me look like a Taino, where the costume is concerned. But I felt a different energy. I felt a vibration, uttering the tongue. Language is very important, and maintaining this identity and this culture, this vibration is also very, very, very important. And I'm so happy that we can reach forward into our journeys and find this kind of people, this culture, this generosity, this kindness, this family, this love, and we can now share it in present time. And I can also be a part of it with my craft and lend my craft to it. So I had this piece called Jamaica Nice as well. Because in high school they taught us about the Arawak, and recently we learned that it was not necessarily the Arawak, but the Arawak was the language spoken, and the Taino was the people. And I did this piece, Jamaica Nice. And I had to open this piece with the memory of the Taino, and also brought in a little bit of the injustice in 1494 when Columbus came in and took over the place in search of gold, So I'm happy to share today. I'm happy to just be a part of this vibration. And I would implore others listening and everyone who have the means to donate, to click the link that is there if you have it. If you don't, I'm sure you can reach out to the chief and, you can get it. Click the link, and whatever you have, you can send us smiles. I myself, when I come off of this, I'm going to send us smiles myself, Just get that strength in the pot, So much love. Thank you for having me. I don't know, it's just a joy to be here to share in the community. So love, respect, and blessings, Give thanks.
Thank you. And just like Olivia from Earth and the Fullness song that is on our road trip track, as soon as we enter into our car, our playlist is automatic, and it starts with a little something like this. Yeah.
Yusaka say, the no man's theory. In 1494, Columbus came ashore. History books say him discover we make Mickey of the score. Him come looking for gold in Jamaica, but what him buck up on? No than Walter. Yes, him think him was alone, but when him check the facts, the Tainos were here speaking Arawak. Nice, nice, Jamaica nice. Mama dad. When it comes to Easter, we get even closer. We eat bun and cheese for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Bun and exchange, people have fun. But some people give bun till them get the wrong bun. For me no want no bun when Easter come. Cause if you can't take bun, don't go get none. Nice. Nice. Jamaica nice. Summertime, me I go tell everyone. Tourists from all bout to come at this your island. They come sprawl off when our white sand and come full joy our suntan. Them come for the music, the vibe can't rest. Them come here for reggae some face. Not to mention Melo go round exhibiting the greatest. So we nice, big up your chest. We nice, we nice. Jamaica nice. Jingle bell. Christmas time in a Jamaica at the best. We don't have no snow, but we have John no face. And Santa never stuck in a no chimney. Santa did stuck in a my mango tree. Breadfruit and roast, sorry lab while and the little picnic them face full up a smile. Uncle one place give you delight, give you fun. That a me little island in the sun. Because we nice. We nice. Jamaica nice. When it comes to sports, we're not the worst, could be the best. You never hear what we athletes them did to birds' nest. News reports are that the birds flew the coop. They have no home, in other words, Jamaica mash up aging town. It's in the name of sports, but we met them all. Jamaica was here. Carved in the great China, wow, 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 wow. I'm a pasta, no poetry, rubber dub. Drink a red stripe in any little club. If I'm Marley or the Lion, and son them at the club. Hey, you want buy free Cuban light bulb? Well, yeah, me fa. It up on the news. And it's a free country. Me can express my views, don't it? Like how me did want my cash for plus. Upon returning for my interest, them say it's minus. Hold on, minus. But I thought it was plus. So you change the name from plus to minus. Me no care. Me just want back my little much. But life goes on. Once bitten, twice shy. Uncle, if they never take me money, give that guy only never money. No matter cry, cry, cry. No matter cry, cry, cry. They carry nice. Hola, hola, hola. Let's say we nice. We nice. We nice. Jamaica nice. We tell you all about Jamaica. Me good at can't done. But as we say a yard, rather little than none. So as we leave, we're gonna say once again, big up to Jamaica, cause the whole of we are friends. Nice. We nice. We nice. Hear them tongues here. Late. Mabrika don't need a yuka-yeke. Mabrika don't need a yuka-yeke. Mabrika don't need a yuka-yeke. Welcome to my community.
Respect.
Get your domain today at GoDaddy.
Like I said, it's on our track. As soon as we hit a car and we start to drive, it's automatically played. So again, thank you to the Don. We appreciate what you have done. We appreciate you being an ambassador also for our language, putting it into songs, telling our story in a very authentic way. A homa, many thanks. And again, we appreciate you. Our community appreciates you. Thank you. Oh, go ahead. The Don, you raise your hand? Yes, go ahead.
I raised my hand, but it was an accident. No worries. Give thanks, man. Give thanks. My pleasure. Every time. Every time.
We appreciate it. Okay, so now that we had a little story, and now we have a little song, we're just lighting up with spirit. We are now going to go into the presentations of things. And so we're going to start with the prestigious Professor Diana Fox, but the duty is not mine to share her accolades. It is one Samarakuya, that is Joanna Jackson, to share and read the bio. And let's start the presentation. I'm out.
Africa, gentle people, I am Tamakuya, and I'm here to introduce the lovely, the talented Diana Fox. So here we have Professor Diana J. Fox is the University Director at the Institute of Gender and Development Studies at the regional headquarters of the University of the West Indies and a Professor of Cultural Anthropology. Big words, great accolades. But let I continue. She engaged with a decolonial feminist approach to a scholar activism in the Caribbean and Asia. She forges collaborations with the communities and social movements. She partners with addressing social, cultural, ecological, and gender transformational goals while building awareness among the wider public. Her research centers on the intersection of gender, climate, and economic justice, building collaborations with indigenous peoples and other groups marginalized by coloniality for empowerment and a livable planet. Ladies and gentle people, please give a warm welcome to Professor Diana J. Fox.
Thank you so much for that, Joanna and all. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here today. I have a PowerPoint to share. And so I'm a little new to Google Meet. So let me hope I can find my PowerPoint. Sorry. I think I might have to save it again so that it shows up. 1 second. Be as fast as possible here. Okay, let's see if this works. Window, here we go. Okay, select, share. Okay, and from the beginning. Is everybody seeing it?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So I just wanted to begin by thanking all of the organizers, the Taino community, for hosting me here today to share with you about the newly launched University of the West Indies Indigenous Studies Research Cluster. This PowerPoint has been co-authored by myself and by Dr. Gabrielle Hossein, who's a senior lecturer in the Institute for Gender and Development Studies in the St. Augustine campus. I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. I'm speaking to you from Providence, Rhode Island, the ancestral homelands of the Narragansett Nation. I acknowledge that the Narragansett people had their land stolen through settler colonial violence, and that they continue to suffer systemic oppression, impoverishment, and invisibility. I also acknowledge their survivance, Anishinaabe writer Gerald Visner's term for the combination of resilience and survival, in their efforts to revitalize their culture as a sovereign nation and as stewards of this land, waters, and all beings. As an employee of the University of the West Indies, I also observe that the Yui, located throughout the Caribbean, also sits on the ancestral homelands of the region's indigenous peoples, who similarly continue to suffer systemic oppression, yet who also demonstrate survivance, as this day indicates. Here we have a slide of the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean. A number of people, including Kasike Kalin and Kaiko Takina Ronalda, shared some information with me, as well as some other folks. If I've left out anybody, I apologize, but these are the peoples whom we hope to involve in the Indigenous Studies cluster, along with UE researchers, and I hope that you will join us. Let me begin with some background about why we have an Indigenous Research Cluster at the UE. The idea for the cluster followed a visit in March 2023 by the UN Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, who's pictured on the right, Mr. Francisco Calitze, an Indigenous Maya man himself. He came to the UE regional headquarters on the Mona campus at the invitation of my office and Vereen Shepard's Center for Reparation Research, as well as the United Marin Indigenous Peoples. He came to do a tour of the island's indigenous peoples. And later in 2023, I decided to work with Dean of Faculty of Humanities at the Moona campus, Sylvia Cohenberg, to craft a proposal because the Center for Graduate Studies, the School for Graduate Studies, headed by Pro Vice Chancellor Audrey Henry Lee, was requesting proposals for research clusters, and an Indigenous research cluster was high on our agenda of a way of going forward and bringing the insights that came out of the visit of the Special Rapporteur to a broader community who could be engaged with critical issues of importance to Indigenous peoples. The UE has engaged with Indigenous peoples on some level, but what this research cluster does is it deepens the engagement through an ethical and inclusive framework, stressing the priorities of Indigenous peoples, rather than a top-down approach where UE researchers decide what they want to study, enter into communities, and then go forward, which is a reproduction of a colonial process. This is not to say that all UE researchers have followed this process, not by any means, but we wanted to institutionalize and formalize an ethical process that prioritizes Indigenous people's interests, concerns, and needs. So the reason to prioritize this,
Diana,
yes.
We're not seeing the slides.
Oh,
the
you're
slide
not?
itself.
Oh,
so
you're
we're
not?
just seeing the presentation main window. So if you can click like number 2 or number 3, so we can follow along.
Okay, so
yeah, thank you.
You can see it that way? You can
Yes.
see it now? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so you missed all of this. You missed this list. I'm going to share this slide presentation with you so you can distribute it to whoever wants it for whatever they want to use it for. So you're seeing it now?
Thank you.
Okay. So this is the slide I just finished, which emphasizes the background, the ethical and inclusive framework, highlighting the priorities of Indigenous peoples. And now we're here on these priorities are important, whoops, I'm sorry, in order to maximize the impact of the cluster. So for example, research influences government policy, NGOs, grassroots activists, and donors. It raises the visibility of Indigenous communities of the region. It amplifies best practices, or what my Wampanoag colleague in Massachusetts refers to as wise practices, as an Indigenous term for research processes. It increases awareness of Indigenous history, of land stewardship and ecological protection, strengthen solidarities of Indigenous peoples of the region with researchers and scholar activists, enriching and expanding Caribbean archival studies. These Caribbean archival studies that exist at the UE do not have a robust archive of Indigenous peoples' history. And it identifies critical research themes around gender, spirituality, food sovereignty, ecology, biodiversity, and all these other themes that have emerged in conversations already, but which will continue to emerge as the research cluster unfolds. We have stressed, as I've said, the importance of an ethical protocol. Currently, the University of the West Indies, through the Institute for Gender and Development Studies in my office, the Regional Coordinating Office, has finalized research with Indigenous communities and Indigenous co-researchers in 6 Caribbean countries for the Caribbean Development Bank. And for that research, we created collaboratively an ethical protocol. We are now working on adapting that ethical protocol, and we think that should be the first line of work of the research cluster to underscore the crucial aspects of collaborative research with Indigenous peoples. These ethical guidelines are living documents. In other words, they are not fixed. They should be flexible with new ideas as new members join the cluster and introduce concepts that have not previously been introduced. And principles of engagement should crucially emphasize respect. They should emphasize reflection, and they should incorporate the following principles. Free, prior, and informed consent, which is embedded within the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. It should foreground all engagement with Indigenous peoples by non-Indigenous entities, including this UE research cluster. I don't think I have time to go through reading this in all detail, but I'll just summarize. Free means there's no coercion in the process. You join of your own free will, knowing all of the various aspects of the research cluster and any other engagement as well. Prior means that this free engagement has been sought within sufficient advance of authorization of any time commitments or any other processes that involve Indigenous consultations. Informed means that the communities understand what the research cluster is about, what its goals are, what its objectives, and the use of the research. What is research going to be used for? We are not emphasizing research for research's sake. We can't always anticipate how research is used, but our goal is to try to identify that it has specific practical implications. And consent is also processual. It's not just a one-time thing. If there are new ideas that emerge, and as the ethical document continues to take form, consent is continually sought. Full and effective participation means that the Indigenous folks who are participating in the research cluster are included in all aspects of it, and that they are taken seriously with respect to cultures, spiritual traditions, traditional knowledge, cultural expressions, all of these things that are listed here that are sacred and crucial to the survivance of Indigenous peoples. Anything that involves Indigenous peoples' life ways is a choice, and again, given with free, prior, and informed consent. Benefit sharing is fair and equitable. In other words, if there's grant funding that comes out of this research, then the grant funding is equitably distributed. If there is any kind of community development that comes out of the research, then it is implemented based on mutually agreed upon terms. And all research that is disseminated is done so in a way that is respectful, culturally safe, doesn't put anyone at risk, and is sensitive to Indigenous people's needs. This includes representation in photographs and the like. We are also emphasizing, because we are the Institute for Gender and Development Studies, and because we recognize the importance of Indigenous women and girls, that research should bring to attention particularly vulnerable groups, including Indigenous women and girls. Research should be non-exploitative. It should stress the value of collaboration. There should be ample time for communities to agree with the value of collaboration and its reliance on primary research. And there should be a sense that the objectives of the research and its implementation are empowering for those who are participating in it and have reverberations for the community itself. I think I managed to stay under time.
Yes,
we would love.
Go ahead.
I hope I didn't summarize too quickly. We would love you to be engaged and involved. My email address is here. Gabrielle's email address is here as well. And please reach out to us. I'm happy to answer any questions if there's any opportunity for that,
Yes.
either here or on email.
All right, we do have a 5-minute window for question and answers. So if anyone has any questions, we have 5 minutes, so that will take us up to 12:05. So any questions? I know that presentation was quite riveting and new in a lot of different aspects. So please ask any questions that you have.
Well, let me share also that the first meeting of the cluster will take place in September. It will be online because it's regional. We will have a discussion about these ethical protocols. We will share the draft of the document that we have. We will likely break down into work groups and have different work groups in breakout groups in Zoom, look over the document. And we will try to end that first collaboration with something substantive that can then take us on into the direction of actual research.
Wow, thank you so much. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions. Is everybody clear? Everybody understands the full meaning of to have an Indigenous research cluster at UWI? Are we very clear on that? Yes, go ahead, Ivan.
Thank you so much. I just was wondering, in which languages is this going to be available?
Well, we will be conducting the discussions, the meetings in English, but the research can take place in any language that you're comfortable with. So whatever your primary language is, if that is the language that you wish to conduct research in, that is not only acceptable but desirable. In other words, there isn't going to be just one centralized body of research. What we're trying to do here is have different groups of people identify what the priorities for research are. As new issues emerge, as new challenges emerge, there's quite a bit of research, but there's always a need for new insights into emerging problems and challenges, or even into successes. What is a success story? Why does it work? And so what we hope is that those who meet on the Indigenous Research Cluster will form teams. They can be temporary teams, and they can move and take on different forms over the course of the life of the cluster. In other words, 2 researchers might decide to work together, and then later those 2 researchers might decide to join with other researchers. You can establish what's important for you, how you go about conducting the research, what its value is. And so there will be a number of different groups working on different issues at the same time. And then the next meeting of the cluster will be an opportunity for us to share what have been the research achievements, what are the supports that are still needed, where can the research go from here. So it's a process, and it involves your own objectives and your own approaches. Indigenous research methodologies are included as a critical aspect of this work.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. I see there's a question in the chat, but I'm not sure where to find. Oh, there's the chat.
Yes, it's from Arlene McKenzie of Rastafarian Indigenous Community, and her question is, would you be able to share the existing listing of research topics and documents held at UA? How can we get access beforehand?
Absolutely. So I am happy to share, when I send my PowerPoint, the TOR, the Terms of Reference, which has been built out since the original proposal. As I noted in my presentation, the proposal was shared with various Indigenous groups, and I got feedback. And as a result of that feedback, the Terms of Reference has been expanded and developed. So we can share that with you. We can also, one of the things that we hope to do also before the first meeting is to build a bibliography of resources for those who have published or created other kinds of outcomes from research, where they can be identified in a form that are hopefully accessible to all. So in open access resources, for example, we can put that together, and we will share that hopefully before the first research cluster meeting, if not at that first research cluster meeting. But certainly in advance, the Terms of Reference will be shared along with this PowerPoint. So the bibliography that exists at present, we have not yet reached out to folks, because we are just establishing the cluster. Once we get a list of participants who wish to be involved, we will ask them to share any of the resources that they wish to have distributed to the cluster, and we'll put together that bibliography that we can distribute. I also saw the comment about holding workshops in different languages. Certainly, I think that that is possible. We can talk about how that is convened. People who are part of the cluster can take initiative and suggest times and dates of workshops to be held in various languages. I'm not sure if there's a translation tool.
I think that, if I may, I think that's what I was referring to, that the September meeting could perhaps be in another language as well, so that we don't close off that door, particularly as many of our Indigenous groups in the Caribbean are of Spanish colonial ancestry, if you like, heritage.
Okay.
And we should really look at how we can open up and be and French and Spanish. Maybe a translation tool.
Even Dutch, Dutch would be important too, especially for groups in Suriname. So I'm making note of this to see whether there might be some kind of AI generated translation tool that can happen during the first meeting of the cluster. I know the UN uses something, so there has to be something available. So we will look into that, and I appreciate that recommendation.
Yeah. The other sort of smaller recommendation might be that to get people who are within these communities to be a key translator for the September meeting.
So there's translation, in other words, going on simultaneously. Okay, that's a great recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, I love the dialogue that is taking place, and it's opening new opportunities for everyone to participate in the way that they can. Thank you. So one last minute for one last question. Anybody else has one last comment? It doesn't have to be a question, but a comment. And then after that, we'll be moving on, taking another short break, another presentation by one of our community members, and then we'll be moving into Dr. Kendra's presentation. And I'm seeing in the chat where someone is asking if Dr. Niga Negochan has presented as yet. No, not as yet. Hers is the last presentation for the day, and then we will wrap up. Thank you so much for staying with us for so long and
Could I ask
sharing.
a question, please? Hello?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, sorry, I am not adept at doing questions and raising hands and stuff. But thank you so much, Dr. Fox. As you know, we appreciate very much the collaboration and
Michael.
And the coming together, you know, the pulling together of all these wonderful, natural, positive, healing forces and peoples. So the question I was going to ask is there a process by which we coordinate with the work of Dr. Shepherd, of Dr. Vareen? Because you had mentioned when we were first, and you know, our paths do cross. The work is very important. And so in a sort of UE collaboration sense, is there a way for us to, again, join forces naturally with the work of Prof's department?
Yeah, what I would suggest is reaching out to her in the same way that you reached out to me, but also copying me on an email. So if you send her an email, and I can share her email with you if you don't have it, because she mostly uses a Gmail, not a UE email. And present to her what your proposal is. How would you like to collaborate, or you'd like to meet with her to talk about collaboration? And also her assistant, Omar, I can share his email too, that makes to be sure that he, you know, that she gets it. And then that will just start a dialogue.
Good, because we do want to have, you know, proper institutional arrangements when we're working.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm afraid I have to jump off to another meeting. I see so many wonderful people on here. I want to thank you all for giving me the time to speak about this, and all the best for the rest of your celebration and your beautiful few days coming up.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate it. And as you can see, everyone, her email is in the chat. Please copy so that you can make contact and share for more opportunities. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Okay.
And so we're going to move into, I think, maybe our final greetings for the day. And this lady's personality is so huge, so powerful. When you meet her, you will feel the spiritual energy of Mother Earth. And so it is my pleasure to welcome Ambassador at Large, Cynthia. I'm so sorry. I want to get the name correctly. So let me look at the chat. I don't want to make any mistakes in pronouncing this name. One moment. Cynthia Ellis Topsy. Yes. My apologies. Ambassador at Large, Cynthia Ellis Topsy. Welcome, Mabrika.
Thank you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you very clearly.
Wonderful. I am very, can you see me? Let me see how I can be seen. I'm still getting used to this technology, you know?
No,
Anyway.
we're not seeing as yet. If you look down to the bottom where there's all of that chatting, you will see a little video recorder that you can click on. It's right beside me. Yes, perfect.
I see it, but it has like a cross. Do I press it? I'm pressing it.
Yes.
Do you see me now?
No, not seeing it.
Only anyway, You're
Right.
hearing my voice, and that's important, right? Sorry, I
Yes.
can't sing.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm very excited to send you and bring you greetings on behalf of the Garifuna Nation. It's time for us to celebrate. It's always good to celebrate because we've gone through so much over hundreds and hundreds of years. So I send the energy to you of love, of transformation, of change, of breaking these cycles of oppression and suppression. I'm actually here in California at Berkeley, where I have been in the United States for a couple of weeks to bring the message of love and collaboration and transformation of the world. As you know, Garifuna Nation, we are now embracing our call that we are poised for humanity, and we want to hold hands with indigenous people all over the world who are seeking the same kind of love, the same kind of strength, the same kind of calling from our ancestors, you know? And what I am affirming is that we, as indigenous people, as relatives all over the world, we are stretching from Central America, North America, South America, the Caribbean, to express our new way of being, breaking the cycles of presenting, changing the language from poverty to sustainability. We are not poor, right? So as you go through these days of your deliberation, remember that we are with you in spirit. Remember the call of our ancestors from all over, from many generations. Let us look forward in charting a new path for 7 generations, as our elders had done for us from time immemorial. We also can present the world of possibilities, moving from sickness, unwellness, to self-sufficiency, to food sovereignty. I bring you the love and greetings from Yamaye, where we recently had our homecoming in Balisau. The colonials call Yamaye St. Vincent. We call it Yamaye because we never want to forget how we overcame and continue to overcome in spite of the genocide that we experience, even though UNESCO in 2001 declared us a masterpiece culture for humanity. We embrace and declare it for ourselves, not alone, but united with our brothers and sisters from all over the world. So on these days and these times when you celebrate, we are fueled and strengthened by your energy and your reflections, that as we go forward, united as indigenous Maroons and indigenous people, we are in one specific geographic location. We are there with you, but we send the radiation, we send the light all over the world. So as I myself return to Belize tomorrow, ancestors willing, with a message, with a responsibility, and I'm very thankful that you give this opportunity for me to speak and send greetings, because this is not a time for us to be quiet. This is a time for us to have our voices heard. This is a time for us to join our voices. Here in the United States, they just celebrated Malcolm X after the fact. For example, we are celebrating ourselves right here in Berkeley, in Oakland, California. I will make it my business to go to the Museum of the Black Panthers, because that's not just a history for this country. This is a history for us, for the world. So we join hands and celebrate with you in this time, now and forever. In the row, in the row. In the row, in the row, in the row. Hi, hey, Wamalehaya, Wamalehaya, Wamalehaya. Thank you very much, my brothers and sisters and relatives and friends, and even those who are not friends. This is the time, Suluwada. The time has come. The time is now. The time is overdue. Seremeniebo. Thanks be to you.
Remain, my sister. Remain, yes. I got it. I finally got it.
You got it, yes. You got it. You got it.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank
Okay,
you. Home, as always, you bring such warmth, love, and light to any space that you are in, and your message always rings through.
Okay.
Always rings.
I
Thank
just
you.
I need to share a victory that we as the Garina Go have had, which is the Balisol, which is the place where our people were left to die, where we were genocided. That place, which was in private hands, is now going to be a sacred heritage site. Right there, sir. That's the picture. Heritage site. And so next year, we are going to celebrate. Okay, we'll celebrate together and we invite you one time. Invite you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And you know, it's because we open our mouths, open our voices at the homecoming last year. I said to the Prime Minister, Ralph Gonsalves, put your money where your mouth is. At the celebration for our sovereign king and chief, paramount chief of the Garifuna people, Joseph Chatouillet. That's what Spirit spoke through me, and the Prime Minister heard and is doing the right thing. So we are embracing Palisao in our homecoming next year. So don't take it lightly what you are doing right now. It's powerful. It goes out right into the universe, into the atmosphere. And our ancestors are listening. They are hearing. They are present with us. We are joining the eagle with the condor and your, what is the word you all use for your hummingbird, right? And in Central America, the quetzal, okay?
Or Wuni, yes.
We're all coming together. Nothing can stop this reggae jam. Okay, blessings, peace, and love.
Yes, I hope that you see this is what we're celebrating. You see what I mean?
Yes.
This is celebration. This is celebration of our indigeneity. This is a celebration of who we are as individuals. When they try to kill us out, we're like cassavas. We grow everywhere.
Exactly. So one of these days we'll talk some more because I have a lot of information to share And I know you, Sister Diane Fox was in Belize and all of that recently.
Yes.
And, you know, I wish to share the perspective of our indigenous people on this whole process of research for another time.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be combative, but it needs to be no compromise and the establishment of indigenous protocols.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing here in the United States of America, to set up the voice of indigeneity from our perspective.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing
Thank you.
about us without us.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Sarah May.
Sarah Main, thank you, my sister. Wow. Listen, my glad bag boss. My heart is full.
Okay. Okay, ayo. Ayo.
Yes.
Ayo. Goodbye.
Yes, thank you. And so we are going to move into our little break from one of our esteemed elder in our communities, Mr. Michael Ald. He has been a stalwart in the resurgence of our Taino heritage from in the 90s, 80s. His work is amazing, outstanding. He did a lot of work with Anansi. He's been talking about our culture, and even though still working towards creating sustainable art that can be posted everywhere. I think at one point we're trying to work with Hope Zoo to have a monument done there of Atabe, but we'll see how that works out. And so it's my pleasure to share one of his stories that he has put together, I think many years ago, but just now is the time for us to hear it. And so let's go.
This is the short story of Yukahu, the provider, whom the Taino called the god of the life-giving yucca, or cassava, and the sea. He's also called Marakoti, which means without grandfathers, since he was of a virgin birth. His mother is Atabe, whom the Taino believed was the goddess of childbirth and of the fresh waters from her womb. So, Yukahu, the god of the sea and the god of the yucca, gives us life. It is from these products that the Taino people survived. They were the people who made a bread called kazabi, which we call cassava, from the yucca, or the cassava, the bitter cassava. the poisonous cassava. And the Taino were seafaring people who traveled all the way from the Orinoco River Basin up to the chain of islands in the Caribbean, all the way to Florida. Their culture gave us many things, and it is because of their mastering of the sea and their use of the yucca that made them so prolific in their culture and many things that they eventually gave to the world.
Thank you. I hope we got a little bit of a little bit of knowledge, a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more appreciation of our stories and how food is tied into it. As you say, yucca who or staple or main staple when traveling across from the Americas through the Orinoco River coming through, as you saw, was cassava, bame. And so we can't afford to let the importance of our food and the stories that it holds go to waste. And so it is our duty to always remember to share these stories when we're sharing, when we're putting that food on the plate. We have the stories to back it up, how this food came about, what our grandmothers used to do, grandfathers used to do. So again, Mr. Ald isn't on, but I just want to share my appreciation of him. And so we are moving into our next presentation. And this is, oh, Dr. Kendra is ready. Yes.
I am.
Let me right. I just wanted to bring it up. So Dr. Kendra is a senior staff scientist in the ancient DNA lab of Dr. David Reish at Harvard University. She analyzes genome-level ancient DNA data to learn about the genetic origins and affinities of peoples who lived hundreds or thousands of years ago, to understand how people move around the world and mix with other along the way. She uses the ancient DNA as a tool to provide new information to living people, and some of whom may have biological or cultural legacies to the ancient individuals who are studied. She believes ancient DNA work must be carried out only while acknowledging and respecting people's unique perspectives about genetic analysis and their own knowledge about the people who lived before them and who they may consider their ancestors. And so without further ado, please go ahead, Dr. Kendra, the stage is yours.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, let's see. I am trying to figure out how to share with you my screen. Let's see if that would work. Can't share your screen. Okay, let me see real quick. Sorry about this. Always a little technical difficulty, even though we've been doing this for so long now. Let's see. Can you?
If you look, you found it? It's called Present Now. It's a little square with the arrow going up.
Okay.
Down the bottom.
Here. Sorry about that. We're usually on Zoom, so it's a little different for me.
Yes.
Okay. Click lock. Okay, good. And so I'm so sorry about this.
No problem.
But you are all very flexible, I've noticed, and everyone has been so pleasant, and I've enjoyed this so much today.
Thank you.
Entire screen. Let's see. I am having trouble. System preferences, open system preferences. Let me just try this one more time. I'm going to have to leave the meeting quickly and come back in so I can share my screen. I will do that. I will be back in 1 second. Sorry about that.
No problem. As you can see, technology has a way of trying to sneak in like a wily old fox or a little Anansi or a spider, the tricky one. And as I said in the beginning, it will not defeat us because we are the people of resilience and determination. And so we will give, oh, Dr. Kendra is back. Yes. Give her just a few minutes to tap into that presentation.
Okay, are you able to see some slides that I'm putting up right now?
Yes, definitely.
You are. Okay, that is wonderful. How about now? Does it look like a good slideshow?
Perfect.
All right, so we're in business. Okay, so thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here today, and I've been listening to your celebration for a while now. I've had my 10-week-old son in here, and we've been enjoying the music and listening to everybody's stories. A lot of what you're saying is resounding, is so much with what I have experienced in Jamaica as someone who's coming from the outside, and I'm just enjoying learning about it so much. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm a scientist at Harvard University, and what I do is I use ancient DNA, which is basically the study of people's genomes, so your DNA information from people who aren't living today, but who lived anywhere from hundreds of years ago to hundreds of thousands of years ago. And I learn about who they were, where they came from, and how they connect to people who live in the same place today. So I'm having a little trouble with this here. I want to be able to see myself and this, but as long as you can see, please someone just shout at me if you can't see anything well. So the project that I'm working on right now is looking at the ancient DNA of the indigenous population of Jamaica. So people who lived on the island prior to European colonization and the impact that Europeans and the later African slave trade had on the genomes of the people who live on Jamaica today. So before I begin, this goes really nicely with what Dr. Fox said in her talk about needing to respect the people we are working with and the knowledge that already exists. So I really want to acknowledge that the ancient individuals from Jamaica who I am studying as part of this scientific work are not able to provide consent themselves because they lived hundreds or thousands of years ago. So instead, for guidance and perspectives, I'm looking to my colleagues in Jamaica as well as to people in Jamaica, such as you. And I'm particularly interested in the perspective and guidance from people who share a biological or cultural legacy with ancient indigenous people of Jamaica. I've been talking with Kalan for, oh my gosh, almost 3 years now about this. But I enjoy doing events like this because I think that your perspectives and feedback make my scientific work so much richer because there is so much knowledge that exists amongst your communities. We really do have a very deep respect for the ancient people we're studying, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to learn more about your history and share this history with people who live on the island today. And I think it's important to recognize that scientific knowledge is one way of understanding the past, but there are many other ways of knowing the past as well. And it really is just a privilege to learn about your ancestors. So I want to give a very brief overview of what I do. As I said, I study ancient DNA. And what this is DNA that is collected from biological organisms that lived anywhere from hundreds of years ago to hundreds of thousands of years ago. So what I do is I take a small sample of usually a piece of bone, and I study the DNA sequence, so the genome. If anyone on this call has done something like 23andMe, you get your genetic information, that's my job too. But not to do that with living people, to do that with people who lived long ago. Why do I do this? I think that's a really important and valid question to ask. Ancient DNA is a tool for looking directly at the genomes of people who lived at a specific place at a known point in time. So what does that mean? A good analogy is to think of a microscope. So we use a microscope to look at a world of microbes which we can't see with our naked eye. So using ancient DNA allows us to investigate what the genomes of people in the past look like and how they're connected to other people in different places in the past and how they're similar or different to people living in the same place today. And this is really, really important because what do we know about the Caribbean? Is that there was an amazing and vibrant and dynamic indigenous population. And then at some point, hundreds of years ago, there was European colonization and large-scale genocide caused by Europeans. After that, there was the beginning and perpetuation of the transatlantic slave trade. So all of these different demographic processes introduced new types of ancestry into this region. It certainly does not mean that any sort of ancestry went extinct at all, but it just meant that new types of ancestry came in and mixed. And many of us know who live in different places that we're mixtures of many different types of ancestry. We have many different backgrounds to us. Maybe that exists in our biology only, or maybe that extends into our cultural traditions as well. But people in Jamaica today are likely to have some indigenous ancestry, possibly some European ancestry, possibly some African ancestry as well. And it makes this beautiful mosaic of people. And we see this throughout the Caribbean and throughout the world. There is no one alive today who is a pure any sort of ancestry. We are all wonderful mixtures of many different types of ancestries. So what I want to look at is the DNA of people who lived prior to the introduction of European and African ancestry into the Caribbean and on Jamaica. So we studied this prior in many other islands across the Caribbean, especially in the Greater Antilles. Jamaica was not included in that first round of work. But luckily, I had the opportunity to begin this work in February 2022 after writing a proposal to study ancient DNA and submitting that to the JNHT, the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, in 2020. So in these pictures, you can see this is me here, and I'm working at the JNHT with some of my colleagues from Jamaica and from UE Mona, who are also involved in this project. Those are the two institutions I'm collaborating with. And what we are doing is we're looking at small samples of human remains that are curated in the collection, and we're taking a little piece so that we can study that individual's genome. And in these pictures, I'm training some of my colleagues on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and answering questions about why I'm doing it, how I will handle the remains, what we will learn from them, how I will return them. All of these important questions were things that were discussed. So I'm going to get a little bit into the science and then tell you a little bit more about our long-term and larger goals. So we wanted to do this project because we wanted to answer questions about who the first people who lived on Jamaica were. Where did they come from? I've heard today a lot of people talking about Arawak speaking people who moved from the Orinoco River Basin up and through the Caribbean. They moved through the Lesser Antilles, through the Greater Antilles, and possibly also into North America. A spoiler alert, this seems to be actually very correct in terms of what we see in the DNA as well. So this is another example of how oral knowledge, linguistic analysis, cultural heritage all kind of give us the same answer to this question. So my aim as a scientist was to generate new ancient DNA data to add to the rich understanding of Jamaican population history that we already have through archaeology, through oral history, oral traditions, storytelling, and other lines of evidence. I wanted to do this while working closely with my Jamaican colleagues to establish collaborations that were engaged and equitable. And I think Dr. Fox used these exact same words as well. We want to make sure that our collaborators on Jamaica are benefiting from this work as much as we are at Harvard. And we want to make sure that the results are considerate of stakeholder perspectives. You are all stakeholders. You have a connection to this work through your identification of biological and cultural legacy. So you are stakeholders. I want to be considerate of your perspectives and your thoughts and your feelings about this work. And I want to be able to communicate this in ways that are effective for academic audiences, but public audiences as well. So this isn't meant to be research that's gate kept and only communicated to other scientists. This is meant to enter into the community and be a way to celebrate Indigenous heritage. So what I did is I collected little tiny pieces of bone material, and I did that by collecting material from the remains excavated by archaeologists from these sites. So many of you will probably know these locations across the island. Some are specifically very famous for their archaeology, such as White Marl is kind of the site that I think has been published on, has been researched a lot, and is very well known in Jamaica. And what I did is I took a little tiny piece of bone, either a piece of tooth, you can see the tooth here, or this bone called the petrous bone, which is part of the skull, a little piece of that bone. And we can sequence the entire human genome from just a small piece. And what we do is we take this piece of bone, we extract the DNA, we prepare the DNA to be read by our genetic sequencers, and we sequence it. So what this means is that we read the 3.2 billion letters that make up the individual's genome. And we do this for each individual that we study. So as part of my work, we generated data from 43 individuals who lived hundreds or thousands of years ago as part of this collaborative project. And this means that we have the potential to learn something really exciting about the population history of Jamaica with ancient DNA, which will complement other lines of evidence. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our data. We have data now from 28,000 to 1.8 million SNPs across the genome. And that probably sounds like another language, and in a way it is. What a SNP is, it is a position in your genome, one of your letters, one of those 3.2 billion letters, where one person may have one letter and another person may have another letter. So as humans, we're 99.9% genetically similar to each other, every single person on this earth. But we have 0.1% of our genome where you might have an A and I might have a G. You might have a C and your next door neighbor might have a T. And these are these different letters in our genomes. So that's what I care about as a geneticist. I want to look at only those places where we differ because that helps us to understand who our ancestors were and where they came from. And this is really powerful because if I am this person sitting here at this little coffee table, I have a mom and a dad, and then I have 4 grandparents, and I have 8 great-grandparents, and so on and so on. So every generation, I have double the number of ancestors, and each of those ancestors gave a little piece of their DNA to me to make up my genome. So when I study my genome, I'm not only learning about myself, but I'm learning about my ancestors as well. So this is the kind of work that we do. Now, when we studied the DNA from the ancient indigenous people on Jamaica, we found that we had 23 individuals who were female and 20 individuals female and 23 who were male. So a very nice distribution of females and males. We found that we had related individuals. So at White Marl, we found 2 females and 1 male who were related to each other at some degree, maybe cousins, maybe aunts and nieces and nephews, etc. We found a brother and sister who were buried next to each other at Cambridge Hill. And also at Cambridge Hill, we found 8 people who were related to each other. So we're already learning something about people in the past. We're learning that they might have buried their ancestors together in family patterns when they passed away. And this is something that, you know, you might know from your own traditions. It varies across cultures, but it looks like here you are more likely to be buried near people who are related to you. We found that all males belonged to Y chromosome haplogroups on this certain lineage. And this lineage is very characteristic of the Americas. So we could tell that these individuals were from the American mainland. We can actually trace their ancestry back to the northeastern part of South America, where Arawak-speaking people live today. And we know that they had these deep American lineages. Now we see these 4 different mitochondrial haplogroups. These are DNA that is passed from mother to her offspring. And we find a certain pattern that mirrors what we see on other islands in the Caribbean prior to European colonization, and is unique in some ways. So what this tells me is that Jamaica probably was populated by the same group of people who spread throughout the entirety of the Caribbean and began this Taino culture, connected with their neighbors, with people living both close to them and far away from them. But that there was some uniqueness to the Jamaican people as well. They probably preferred to reproduce with people who lived also on the island instead of on other islands, which is natural. We do that. We tend to mate with people who are closer to us. So we see some very unique patterns to Jamaica, but we also see that Jamaica fits beautifully into the picture of what we know about the genetics of the rest of the Caribbean. And you can see that on my little plot that I have right here. And what I have right here, all of these blue dots and purple dots represent one individual. And it's what their genetic information says about how similar or how different they are than other people. So over here in the red colors, we have people who lived in the Caribbean prior to the introduction of agriculture and ceramic usage. So these are people who would primarily hunt, fish, gather. They would use stone tools. We have no evidence that they lived on Jamaica, but we do know that they lived in places like Hispaniola and on Cuba. They have ancestry that is very similar, but when we know that ceramic users moved into the Caribbean, we see a shift in ancestry. We see a different type of ancestry. And that's what all of these people in blue dots are here. Now, when we put the information from the genetics of the ancient Jamaicans on here, we see that that fits really nicely in with the ceramic users of the Caribbean. And this is absolutely what we would expect, given the oral history, the linguistic information that connects indigenous Jamaicans with the people from northeastern South America, with the Arawak-speaking groups. And we can also see this in similarities in ceramics and other lines of evidence. So to sum it up, what comes next? What we will do now is we will return all unused sample material from the ancient individuals to Jamaica. This is your cultural heritage, and we recognize the importance of returning ancestors to their home. This is something that I'm talking about with the people from the JNHT. I will bring the remains back myself, hand carrying them. I'm not doing that right now because I have a new baby, but that will happen very soon. Academically, we are going to publish these data in an academic journal, hopefully later this year, but maybe early next year, let's be honest. And we will make the data freely available so that others can benefit and can study different aspects of Jamaican population history to, again, appreciate and celebrate this wonderful indigenous ancestry. We will share results with communities across Jamaica, for example, school-age children, museum visitors, and local heritage groups. I would love to come back and speak with many of you at some point in time, and I'm happy to be in touch about how we can arrange that. I'm in touch with Kalan, so hopefully we can arrange something there. And ultimately, we want to use this work as another way to celebrate the ancient indigenous populations of Jamaica and the biological and cultural legacy that they left that is so evident on the island today. And it's so tangible in your celebration. And that makes me excited to do this work. And again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do this, and I will always handle everything I do here with the utmost respect. You can absolutely feel free to email me with any questions. I'll put my email address in the chat as Dr. Fox did. I'm happy to answer any and all questions and let you know more about our work. And I will continue to be in touch as this work proceeds so that we can keep an open and honest and transparent conversation through all steps of this. So thank you very much for listening.
Wow! Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Dr. Kendra. I mean, I was riveted. I mean, there's two things that for our communities that we're looking forward to. You know, one is we're looking forward to having ceremonies for the return of our ancestral remains, and two, we're definitely looking forward to collaborating more with you, with Harvard and JNHD. So, I just want to point out to everyone that you've taken time out as a new mother to be a part of our celebration, and we thank you so much, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
If you can just give us last five minutes
Absolutely.
For any questions or comments anyone may have. And I say Ivan has his hand up. Go ahead, please, Ivan.
Thank you so much. This is a great research that you're conducting. And I just wanted to ask if you are considering also ethylations and methylations in the genome.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time? I was writing my email address in and I couldn't listen to both.
Yeah, it's fine. So if you are also considering in the research ethylations and methylations in the...
Oh, that's a great question. You must be a scientist. I am not doing that. And the reason is because ancient DNA is so old, the molecules are very degraded. So the amount of information that we can get from them is not as much as we can get from modern genomes today. That being said, the technology is improving all the time. So at some point in the future, we might be able to look at that, and that will give us a whole nother piece of knowledge. But for right now, basically all I'm looking at are those SNP positions and how they're statistically similar and different from people at different sites on Jamaica to different islands, and then also to populations living on the American mainlands.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I see we have Arlene ready for a question.
Greetings, and thank you so much, Dr. Sirak. It was so amazing because I'm actually doing, we have a family reunion every 2 years, and I'm doing quite a bit, and I'm going to send you an email on that.
Please do.
However, my question is to do with the relationship between, at Rastafari Indigenous Village, one of the things we often speak about is the fact that Africans were here long before the documentation of what we've been told traditionally.
Okay.
In your findings, in the DNA findings, are you doing any comparison between the DNA of the African populations in Mexico, for example, and in the mainland? You get the picture with our indigenous populations as to, we talk about Caribs and Arawaks and peaceful and aggressive. And I often wonder whether or not there were not African populations here long before we've got it documented.
That's a really great question. And DNA is actually the perfect way to explore that question. And that's just mainly because we know that the DNA of people who live in the Americas and people who live in Africa look quite different. No, there's no ranking, there's no subjectivity of why that difference is. It's just literally statistically different. But we know that, so we can study it. I do see evidence of African ancestry in some individuals that we're studying. Now, we specifically designed this project to study the Indigenous American ancestry. So if we had an idea that an individual might be of African descent, for example, by their burial style or their grave goods or the burial context, we were unlikely to include that individual in this work. But actually, we do see some Indigenous individuals who also have some African ancestry in there. Now, to answer your question about the depth of that African ancestry, what we would like to do is to get a direct date, a radiocarbon date, which is just another scientific analysis. But we could basically take a small piece of the individual's bone, just like we use for DNA, and we can learn when that individual lived. And it's a whole kind of complex method of looking at the amount of carbon left in those bones versus the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. But we can get an estimated date for when those individuals lived. And we can see if that individual lived after, what we know would be the colonization, the time of colonization or European contact, or before that. So we might be able to answer that question. I think it's great. We also only have 43 individuals. So if we don't find that, it doesn't mean by any extent that it did not exist, but it might not exist in our sample set that we have right now. And of course, we will be looking not only to see if we could connect the African ancestry to the African ancestry that was in the Americas. I see that's another question in the chat. The African communities in South America. Arlene mentioned Mexico, also correct. And we'll also be looking to see if we could find out from where in Africa that ancestry derived. So where were people forcibly taken and moved into the Americas, because that also helps people reconstruct a part of family history that was taken away from them through that process of enslavement. So there are lots of things that we're learning. The databases that we're using continue to improve, and we can tell things with higher resolution. So these are really exciting questions to explore.
I think just wanted to follow up. I think it's really important for us in terms of determining our past and our stories. Yeah. We cannot tell our story the way it's been told to us, because we know for a fact that our African connection is much deeper than we've been allowed to know, whether through the Maroon communities, right, or through our Taino ancestry and our connection with Colombia and Mexico and Venezuela.
Yes, that's excellent.
Thank you. We have one last question before I know Dr. Kendra has to run, and we will take that from Loy 10. Go ahead, please. Oh, Loy, but I'm being told that there was another hand up before. Zayla Trinity. Oh, Loy cannot unmute. Okay.
I can answer in the chat if she can type it. I also see Zayla
Trinity.
Yeah, ask the question in the chat as well. The Taino people of Jamaica are undoubtedly the most ancient indigenous peoples of Jamaica. That's a great question too. I don't know if we can say for sure if they're the most ancient, because I'm always afraid as a scientist to say I'm sure about anything, or anything is the oldest or the newest or anything, because we find something new and that can trump everything that we thought we knew. But right now, my interpretation from communicating with a lot of different archaeologists and other people who have long oral traditions of descent from people on this island are that the Taino are some of the earliest settlers of Jamaica. And archaeology evidence helps us understand when that was, and arguably a bit about from where that was. And genetics helps us to see that Jamaica was part of this larger network of Caribbean people who were contacting each other and trading with each other and exchanging goods and culture as well as genes. So we expect to see Jamaica as just part of this wonderful intra-Caribbean network. And we will continue to learn more about how deep that ancestry goes. Again, with things like radiocarbon dating, we can understand when people actually lived themselves. For example, how many hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago they lived. And the more we study, the more we'll learn, and we'll be able to kind of create this more robust timeline of this ancestry and how it changed and where it came from. So that's still an open question, but you guys are giving me some great ideas for some research questions that we can explore.
Okay, so my question is, hi everyone. Based on your research, did it identify when the African DNA reached Jamaica? Was it before Christopher Columbus or was it after?
We don't know the answer to that yet because I have to take the genetic data, the radiocarbon dates, and then put them together and do the analysis. But that is something that we can answer. Right now, I have not seen throughout the Caribbean, I have not seen any African ancestry that predates European contact. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I haven't seen it yet. So it's really interesting to know that this is something that is possible and something that is worthwhile to look into. So I will keep that in mind, and I will be conscious of looking at that when I go through the data. I'm on maternity leave for 2 more weeks, and then I'll be back and I'll be working full time on this. So I'll be looking for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wait, I see one last question. I saw it before. This is from Jamaica Cultural Enterprise. I see Redware people. Would you like to expound on that?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Hutchinson. No, it's just that I guess it was more of a comment in relation to one of the other comments that was there in terms of the oldest set of people. And what I have been reading is about the Redware people. And so it would be interesting to know the connection with the Taino, if it's parts of the same grouping of people, if we should consider them to be separate and predating the Tainos.
Exactly.
So that really was what that comment was about.
And that comment is exactly what a person who does my line of research would look at. If we have, say, we know an individual was buried with Redware pottery, and we know that they were, associated with this cultural tradition, and we might look to see, are their genomes similar or different to people who were buried with maybe other types of artifacts or in other burial positions, and that way we understand whether there was biological continuity over time, or whether we had new types of ancestry introduced, such as through migration or through, new connections that might have been established. So stay tuned. That's the exact kind of question that our work looks to answer. And I hope that next time we meet, I can give you a little bit more detail into those answers.
Perfect. This was amazing. Cannot deny it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Saraki. Thank you again for your time. And you have a lot of work when you come back after 2 weeks.
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm seeing where I have one more question. Can you take one more question?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lumsden.
Thank you. This is very, very fascinating, and it is detective work, and I'm so glad that it is now on the road and being discussed. Fantastic. Quick question though, in terms of hundreds, Columbus was, 1492. When would you say this the ceramic people would have been here and the pre-ceramic in terms of, time? What hundreds of years or
Yeah, great
BC,
question.
AD, etc.
That would be a good question for an archaeologist, many of whom we collaborate with. The earliest sites on Jamaica, I want to say, are around maybe 1,000 years ago, maybe a little bit more. For some reason, we don't see evidence of these pre-ceramic users on Jamaica. And it's interesting because we do see evidence of them on surrounding large islands. There's a few theories on why they might not have been on Jamaica. One of my thoughts is maybe that the sites are just undiscovered. But there's a possibility that they just didn't inhabit this island for some reason. The ceramic users we see come in with that wave of migration from Northern South America. So let's say maybe 1,200 years ago. And some of the oldest sites that we find remains at are sites like White Marl. So that's why this is just such an important and amazing and incredible site to study. And we will get more specific dates when we do the radiocarbon dating. So for example, we've been able to push back the dates of occupation in some places. When we find individuals, we determine a radiocarbon date and we say, okay, they actually lived 3000 BC on this island. So we know that this region was inhabited during that time. So this is how science kind of helps us, understand a little bit more about this. So that was something that will be definitely included in all the work that we do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
There's one more question that I'm happy to answer if we have time. I don't want to take anyone else's time.
It would be the last question. So but I knew this topic would garner this amount of interest. So we're still on track. Go ahead, Arlene.
Okay.
So I'll make it quick, and it's really just a comment. It has to do with the legal framework that's around us having digs around the island and things being removed, taken away, and the partnerships between all the various universities that are taking these things away. I'm not sure that we have enough protection for our indigenous artifacts, whether through research or tourism or little digs around. But I do know, for example, I participated in a small dig at Bluefields, which is on the south coast of Westmoreland, which was a ceramic dig, and they were finding tons and tons of stuff. Everything was then moved out to the University, I think, of Florida.
Okay, that makes sense.
There seem to be some. So my question is there a partnership between all these various research centers that share information and then have a way of returning these things to us in a way that we can look after them? In other words, it's a sort of a reparations kind of thing that you've now got your information. Can we have things back in a lovely museum built, for example?
Sure. That's a great question. And I mean, it's really wonderful to know that people are willing to be so invested in their cultural heritage. So I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. So this is why you notice in my slide, I said we wrote this proposal in 2020 and my work was in 2022, because that first 2 years was required us actually working out contractual agreements with the JNHT, with UE Mona, to make sure that these remains that were exported were protected and would be returned. So we do all have the permissions, the export permits, all of that stuff is approved by the board of the JNHT, by the head of UE Mona. So they know exactly what we have, exactly what we're doing, and exactly when it's expected to come back. Now, that being said, it's no secret to anyone that scientists have exercised some pretty bad behavior in the past. So in a way, this is also a bit of you trusting me that I'm going to do things right while these remains are under my care, and that they will be returned in full to you in a respectful way. So I'm very grateful because you've put a lot of trust in me, and I've been hoping I'm earning that. They will be returned to you. Everything is going to be well communicated. It's well documented. There have been a lot of consistent meetings with both our academic partners at JNHT and UE Mona, and then with Indigenous and cultural leaders as well throughout these last 3 years that we've been working on this project, and there will continue to be. So what I can give you right now is open communication about where we are in the process and where these remains will be coming back, but they will be. It's in our contract, but it's also the ethically, morally, and respectful thing to do. So I'm very cautious of that, and I will make sure that happens. But yes, they are under legal and permit protection. Everyone is aware that they are out of the collections in Jamaica right now and in the Harvard laboratory, and that they are expected to be returned.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Peter Gay shared something in the chat, but it's not for right now, so I'll just read it for everyone. I think she also emailed you.
Okay.
All right. So she said, I emailed the following question to Dr. Sarak, but I wanted to share here. It was mentioned that unused samples of ancient DNA would be returned. Where are the used samples of ancient DNA, and when will they be returned? Okay.
I can answer that. That's a question that we will tackle in full through some conversations with our collaborators. We will return anything that we didn't use. The used information becomes data, basically. Essentially, it becomes a sequence of data. So that's not something that I can physically return, but that is something I can share. And that's something that I can make available to, for example, students at Jamaican universities, or through people who want to design museum exhibits. That's something that we're interested in helping with and facilitating so that we can actually see the results of the study. So any sort of material from an ancestor that is not processed comes back to the island. That which is processed becomes data, and that is shared, if that makes sense. And if there's any more follow-up you'd like to have, we can talk about that for sure. Just feel free to, write me over email.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have done a wonderful presentation, and you've also done a wonderful question and answer.
Thanks.
All right. So thank you again for staying on so long and just sharing space with us. I will release you. No.
Okay, to my baby. I hear him.
Yes. Yes. So
thank you.
Thank you again for coming up. All right, so we have just a little lineup of things. We have one last presentation and then vote of thanks. But before we get to our last presentation, which is gonna wrap up all of what has been happening since 10 o'clock this morning, we just wanted to touch a little bit on we're doing our own celebration also. Celebration within a celebration about the fact that we are now on the minority rights group page, the Yamaye Taino people with large and in charge. We are finally out there as people who are still living. You can check the site, which we will put a link into the chat. It's a monumental feat for us to be on here, because before a community member had recognized that we were not on it at all. Ourselves, Yamaye Taino, and also Maroons of Jamaica, there was very limited information. And so our community member, which I might add is our last presenter, saw the space that was there for us to write ourselves back into history. And so that's what we did. So we started the process last year, and it was finally completed this year. And big up to Jamaica, because the whole we are friend. We are on the minority rights, the minority rights page. So thank you. So I would have really wanted to introduce this next guest speaker, but the privilege is not mine. And so I asked Rashida Vitali, another one of our commendable community member, to come on and share about Dr. Erica Niganagwachan, who's also known to us as Tekina Eri Inaru, and she's on our council. So go ahead, Rashida.
Mabrika, everyone. It's such an honor to be introducing this next speaker, actually, because she's a source that I've cited multiple times in my own studies. So without further ado, I'll be sharing with you about Tekina Eri Inaru, Dr. Erica Niganawajin. Erica is a proud Yamaye Taino from the southern St. Elizabeth region. Her parents, as well as all her maternal and paternal grandparents and ancestors, have deep roots in that coastal area of the island. Tekina, meaning teacher, and council member of Yamaye Guane Taino peoples, Erica has earned master's and doctorate degrees from the University of Toronto's Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, which is the OISE. She has also established the Olive Maxim Indigenous Bursary, named for her mother, to support Indigenous Black and Taino students in OISE's Master of Teaching program, an associate professor in critical policy, equity, and leadership studies. She desires to highlight Caribbean and Taino indigeneity. And I must also add that Erica recently received an award from the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada as the principal investigator to look at how Indigenous elders and knowledge holders use digital technology to support post-secondary students. So welcome, Tekina Eri Inaru.
Thank you, Rashida. Can everyone hear me? Thank you for reading that was a beautiful intro. Can everyone hear me okay? Just a thumbs up.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, just please give me a moment. Let me quickly turn the light on. It's really dark in here. 1 second, please.
I just want to tap in and share that the award that Dr. Erica Niganawajin has been awarded, it took years for her to get there, and so this is a well-earned award. I finished now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Rashida, thank you again. Kasike Yani, thank you as well. Welcome to another year of our Taino New Year rainy season. It's the rainy season, everyone. We're celebrating. The theme this morning has been great. We just heard the presentation. I came in when Diana was speaking. It was just wonderful to hear everything. So I'm happy to share with you some thoughts on the importance of celebrating our indigeneity. It's an important topic because even when I write my name, I proudly ensure that Taino is written in brackets, and that's to signify who I am. So I'm not just stating my name, I'm proclaiming my indigeneity, and I'm doing so with pride. So a new year is a time for reflection, and I also heard that theme as well this morning. We're so grateful to our Cacique Kalan. We're grateful to the council, to our community, to you, to our allies, to our friends and our relatives for all that you do to celebrate and to be with us today. So we must always remember and honor Indigenous people, whether it's locally or globally. I'm in the North, and Indigenous people here are always on my mind. Being here on Indigenous lands, I do have a responsibility to honor the many Indigenous nations that are in this area. So, such as the Haudenosaunee Nation, the Anishinaabe, the Lenape Nation, and the Chinook nations. These are all Indigenous people whose lands I live on, currently work on. And I also have the responsibility to remember who I am and to be able to share and talk about our Caribbean indigeneity. This is so crucial because there is misinformation, there's misinterpretation, there's misunderstandings about who we are as Taino people and about our indigeneity, and that's everywhere. If you want to find misunderstandings about Taino people, it's everywhere. So we're not supposed to even talk about our indigeneity. And so today, we carry those traditions of celebration, like our ancestors. Our ancestors celebrated all the time. Today, we're meeting virtually and in person tomorrow, which is not new, because our ancestors, our Taino ancestors, they've always gathered together historically. They met with each other, they celebrated with each other, and they honor the dry season, the rainy season. So no matter how we understand it, indigeneity is of huge significance. And according to Steve's, it is not as simple as saying, okay, indigeneity opposes identity erasure or indigeneity opposes resistance. Indigeneity is composed of many histories or many experiences. So I'm not attempting to define indigeneity today in talking about its importance, but more so to talk about indigeneity in the context of relationship, the relationships that we have with each other, and even our own understanding of our own indigeneity. So as Beard explained, which is an author, that indigeneity doesn't mean the same to everyone. Instead, depending on people's social, their cultural, their political, their historical context of different places, that influences the ways in which indigeneity is conceptualized, the way it's practiced, and the way it's understood within these different contexts. The author Matute also asks a really, really important question of what it means to be indigenous in a globalized world. And he notes that indigenous people display multiple indigeneities, considering different interpretations and experiences. So in other words, indigenous people have commonalities, but indigenous people, no matter where they are distinct peoples. And so indigeneity is constantly being recontextualized. It's constantly being renegotiated and negotiated. Our own community, or Yukayeke, the Jamaican hummingbird community, has gone against the grain. We have challenged the status quo and contextualized and challenged and negotiated what indigeneity means collectively. 10 years ago, you can ask anyone, who are the Taino people in Jamaica? Very few people would be able to name a community. So we have gone against that grain. And by letting everyone know that, yes, Taino families are on the island. There's a lot of families on the island. Indigenous people are there on the island. Jamaica's first people are there. And we are so proud of our indigeneity. So there's a resurgence and there's a reassertion of indigeneity within the Caribbean context. And today's celebration is an example of how we as a community, how we express our indigeneity. It's also an example of that resurgence of what I describe as singing it out loud, saying out loud. There is no single universal form of indigeneity. It is through our everyday lived experiences, our knowledge within Caribbean context, and specifically within a Jamaican Yamaye context, that we understand, we come to know our indigeneity and its significance. So many people don't know the history of our island. There are intimate histories, there are connections and relationships with our Taino lineage or bloodline or kinship that relates to Taino that we actually live daily. For example, this is another theme I hear. We're cassava growers, we're cassava eaters, we're bami makers, we're cassava people. We have specific methods that we use in different regions throughout the island, and these we have learned generationally. So cassava is loved across the island, and cassava, in the community where I grew up, cassava is not just for eating, it's the natural way of life. So all these things are part of our everyday life and our indigeneity that we may even take for granted. We have our unique Taino culture, we have our Taino ways of living. We're making efforts at the Jamaican Hummingbird to continue to regenerate our language. Even one word matters. So when you say mabrika, when you say haham, it matters. When you speak the language, you keep it within your consciousness. We have our stories, which we are learning and we're sharing with each other. We have many things to celebrate, and you saw that through the presentations this morning, including our Taino families and our Yukayeke. Our indigeneity is both collective and it's individual, and it's a source of health. All Red talks about interconnections between families and between the community, that's our Yukayeke, that it is a source of strength. And our sermon, and our practices are also a source of health and wellness. Just a second, please. My voice is going. Just 1 second. Get some water. So, let me see where I'm at. Our ceremonies and our practices are a source of health, and it's also a source of wellness for us. So our ancestors, our Taino ancestors, they've walked these lands. When I say these lands, I'm talking our beautiful island, Jamaica, and I'm talking about for hundreds of years. We had some insights from the presentation as well on that. Taino people are the first teachers of Jamaica, the first people to be on that island. Therefore, we're the first scientists. We met a scientist today. Taino people are the first scientists. They're the first doctors. They're the first farmers. We're the first artists, the first authors. And our ancestors, they left artwork, they left teachings, they left their history and more all over the island. So when you look, even though there's misinterpretations everywhere about Taino people on the island, Taino people are everywhere. There is no parish. There is nowhere in Jamaica that Taino people have not been. They're everywhere. Taino indigeneity reflects day to day in our communities and beyond. And Taino have made a significant and profound historical contribution. They've set the grounding for indigeneity today. And so it is important that we, as Taino people, we continue in those ways of knowing, and that we center our indigenous knowledges. There are people in our community who continue to love and take care of the environment. There are farmers on the island who continue to carry on Taino traditions of farming, planting their cassava, planting their peanuts, which is a Taino food, providing food in the community. And they're doing so in sustainable and ecological ways with the earth, practicing ethical farming, which is part of our worldviews as Taino people. For example, you take only what is necessary. You take care of the land, and you realize when it needs rest. This is something I learned from my mother. She always tells me that the land needs to rest too, just like we do. So the United Nations states that indigenous people are inheritors and practitioners of unique cultures and ways of relating to people and to their environments. So we celebrate and recognize and appreciate our indigeneity, because if we don't celebrate our indigeneity, who's going to do it? It's up to us to do that. So we speak up anywhere we can. For example, our cacique, our council, our community members, they share locally, they share globally, we go to schools. We share our Taino methods, our approaches, our way of life to strengthen our indigeneity. And in doing so, we're passing on knowledge to future generations. That's another theme, thinking about the 7th generation. So we as a people, we think generationally. And so as Taino, we think generationally because our indigeneity is really important to us. It's significant. We want to make sure that we have that continuity. And so we are debunking that notion of our erasure every single day. We as Taino people, our indigeneity is also intersectional. For example, many of us are Black people too. We recognize and we honor all of our ancestors. And our Blackness, it brings with it its own indigeneity. When we share our language and our stories with schools across the island, we're bringing awareness into people's consciousness and awareness of who we are. So we have to smash those stereotypes. It's a long-term project, smashing that, because for so long we've heard that we're extinct. And Yamaye Taino, in particular Jamaican Taino, are especially extinct. I hear other Tainos from other islands talk about how there are no Taino people in Jamaica. Jamaica has a rich history everywhere you turn. We know who we are, and the island of Jamaica, in each parish, is just steeped in indigeneity, because indigeneity is in the land, it is in the soil. And Jenny Jamont writes that St. Thomas, and I could replace St. Thomas with any parish, but I'm going to say St. Thomas has a rich legacy of Taino culture, and her work looks at each parish. Same for the work of our Tekina Katiatoa. She talks about Taino people, and again, bring Taino people into the public consciousness. These contemporary Taino scholars have done remarkable work to remind the public of who we are and our contributions. So I heard the word archaeology. We're learning from archaeologists. We're learning from scientists, as you can see. We're learning from the land. We're learning from our ancestral sites, because we have many. We have many ancestral sites that are formalized, and we have many that are not. We are learning from stories. In fact, the whole island is the ancestral site, which means it's sacred, which means we have to not take it for granted and be respectful of it. And all of these stories complement each other. The DNA study complement our stories. Archaeologists' work complement our stories. Our ancestors, they're the ones, make no bones about it, pardon the pun, they're the ones that have leave these things behind for us. That's how come this study happened that we just listened to, because they left these things behind to anchor us, to make us know that there's continuity and that we're still here. And this helps us to better understand who we are. It helps us to better understand our indigeneity. So therefore, we have that obligation to carry on that work and to pass on that knowledge. One of the things that connects me to my indigeneity is the land. So I'd like to ask maybe 1 or 2 people, if you're willing to share, if you do identify as indigenous, or again, there's no pressure, if you're willing to share, just 1 or 2 people. What about you? What do you think connects you to indigeneity, to your indigeneity? For me, it's the land. So anybody want to share? And
for me, it's the food. It's definitely the land, but I find that the oral tradition, the stories that accompanies the food, it's what brought me back into the fold of my indigeneity.
For me, it's the biodiversity. It's the all of the plants, the animals, like everything that is alive. It just speaks to me.
Yay, yay. Thank you for that. I'm so excited just to hear it. All right. Anybody else want to thank you for that? Anyone else want to share? Maybe
Sure.
more? Thank you.
For me, it's the land and our indigeniveness because of our parent has always been using the land and knowing that we're indigenous and we use the things on the land. It's for me, it's just that. All the flora, the fauna, the biodiversity, everything just come under indigeneity.
Wow, thank you for that. So see, these are just our everyday life. These are our everyday life as Indigenous people, and your responses are so heartwarming. And thank you for that. Anyone else want to share?
For me, it's the rivers. The rivers, yes.
Thank you for that. The rivers. So the land, the rivers, the flora, the fauna, and it's all on the island. It's all there. Indigeneity is looking at us in our faces, and we can feel it even in our bodies as well. So thank you very much for sharing. So for me, when I grew up on the island, the land was significant, and it remains that way today. The plants, the shrubs, the food, the vegetation, I think that sets the foundation of our indigeneity. And Robin Kimir, another indigenous scholar from another region, she talks about how the plants are also recognized as our oldest teachers. I used to go in the bush and I used to see all these plants. I knew what they were for. Many kids back home, they carry that indigenous knowledge. That is part of our indigeneity as indigenous people. Again, things that we may just take for granted. So there's a profound feeling of deep and inner respect for the land. For me, I used to look up at the sky when I was a kid. I remember I used to go outside in the darkness and you'd look up and you see all these beautiful stars in the sky. And it was a routine for me. I had to go and look at the stars, and I would think about the stars and wonder about their stories. I would look at each star and I'd say, I wonder what story this star has. And indigenous people here, they talk about star knowledge. They say that the stars are all about relationship and that the stars teach us our own place in this world. So these are feelings that cannot be understood from a text. It is a process of how we live our everyday life that embodies our very indigeneity. And again, it comes through our lived experiences. We continue to transmit our cultural traditions and our indigeneity. And again, in the community where I grew up, and I talk about it a lot because I love it so much, there were seasonal ponds and water springs which existed for generations. My mother used to harvest salt, and that was a long tradition in my family. I've heard stories from her. It doesn't mean that one of my sisters are gonna know that stories, because I always ask my parents, and so I get stories that other siblings don't. But I hear stories from my mother that my grandmother and even my great-grandmother, who lived a long time, harvested salt at the pond. So they developed these skills, indigenous knowledges of harvesting salt from the pond. And for decades, people in that community did not need to buy salt because we got it from the pond, we got it from the land. And so that means that as Taino, we have this relationship. It's all about relationships, reciprocal relationship, a spiritual relationship with the land where it gives to you, but you take care of it as well. And going back to the parish of St. Thomas, Jemet writes that for the people who today talk about their links to that parish, this legacy of the first Jamaicans, that it should be embraced, that it should be protected and presented as one of the foundation stones that have helped to shape the rich and diverse history of the parish. And like I said earlier, I could take out St. Thomas and put any parish and you could say the same. So we celebrate and we tell our stories. We celebrate our first Taino chief in over 500 years. We have our Aredos, right? We celebrate that. We celebrate our rainy season, the dry season. We celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. And although Jamaica is a signatory to the United Nations UNDRIP Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, we also recognize they need to go further, but we also celebrate that step. And I always think about it because I'm in Canada, and Canada was forced to, they didn't even want to sign, they were forced to sign. So that's a step that I always celebrate. We celebrate with our maroon relatives. We love them. We celebrate Earth Day. And as Taino people, every day is Earth Day for us. So we honor our rivers. Somebody mentioned rivers. We honor the forest, the mountains, our ancestral sites. When I was on the island in 2022, and as I was heading back to the airport, I had my back turned. I couldn't stop looking. I was looking at what I was leaving behind. I was looking at the mountains and the trees. I just couldn't believe the greenery. It was so beautiful. I couldn't get it out of my mind, and I couldn't stop turning my head to look behind me to look at it. So to examine what indigeneity is, Matua writes that it is necessary for us to listen to the narratives, to listen to the history, the perspectives, and the horizon of those who live it. And so I encourage everyone here today to learn or continue to learn about Taino history from Taino people and support Taino organizations as we work to preserve our Taino heritage. So the theme of dispersed but not disconnected is always emphasized by our cacique, and to show that we're everywhere. I'm here, you're there, everyone is in a different place, but we're still together. Like our ancestors who found ways, they found ways to connect with each other. So as we celebrate our indigeneity today, we go beyond today, and it is an ongoing process of learning and loving our indigeneity. So thank you for listening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ari. Round of applause. The pride that just kept building in my heart when you were talking is like, wow. Let me see, Miss Michael, would you like to say something?
My heart is full. And thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. And Olivia, I saw your hand raised. Well, I'm still seeing your hand raised.
Yes, greetings. Give thanks for that wonderful presentation. I just wanted to add the sea. You know, I feel connected to Jamaica through so much. The land, the music, everything, honestly. The air, you know. So I'm there with everybody on those things too, and I just wanted to take a moment to mention the sea,
yes,
as well, you know, and give thanks for the sharing of that salt story, you know. Yes, thank you so much for that. You know, these things, they're not simple things, you know, because when you learn that now, then you start to think of where else in Jamaica have salt, you know, and what people are doing there. And then you start to think about how Jamaican people love salt things, you know, and how far back, you know, history is that really coming from, you know. So, yes, give thanks, give thanks.
Thank you for mentioning the sea. If I might add, our Taino creation stories is connected to the sea, the Caribbean Sea. So, of course, there's that connection. Thank you for sharing that.
Definitely. I saw Arlene, you had your hand up. Thank you, Olivia, for that sharing.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. Beautiful, Erica. Beautiful. It really was inspirational, and I'm supposed to be speaking at a conference tomorrow on futures, on looking at future imagining. And your points were so important, because I feel that we're not understanding the importance of identifying and valuing our indigenous past. Our children are not aware of the stories, very recent stories, things that you can think of, that you can remember. And I think that we have to put in place strategic direction in our curriculum to be able to ensure that going forward, we lay out, and if the government won't do it, we have to do it. We have to lay out a path for our children to be able to connect them to the past, and so that we don't repeat the mistakes of our history, and for that going forward, our future stands on very solid ground. The other thing I wanted to add is the important to me and connection to me would be the music and the liberty, the music. You know, this is where we've been able to identify where a lot of our African history lays. You know, just in the musical rhythms. And I think we have to acknowledge the stories and the DNA that is carried in the hands of many of our drummers, the memory that seems to exist in the DNA that we don't take we don't take it on board. Thank you. Wonderful presentation. Wonderful day. Lovely.
Thank you. Any other comment or any questions? Okay, if not, we are at the end. Thank you so much, Eri, taking Eri in a row. Your presentation, again, whenever you talk, there's so much pride in what you share that I sit at your feet and learn how to really appreciate where I'm coming from, because as we would all know, you know, indigenous peoples are not recognized in Jamaica. And so that's a narrative, that's an extinction narrative that has been perpetuated from my yada my knee, you know, as we would say in Jamaica. I grew up in primary school, basic school, learning about that. And I know Dr. Niga Nagwachan can also share from her perspective. It's just one question I would ask, though, because we've been growing up in this extinction narrative. You who without a doubt knew where you're coming from, you knew your heritage, it wasn't in question. You never had to ask. Your family is indigeneity itself. What was that like for you going to school and hearing that extinction narrative being perpetuated, and they expected you to write, yes, we don't exist? Just that question for me.
Are you talking to me, Kasikeyani?
Yes.
Everybody? Okay, well, for me, I knew. But even though I knew, there were still contradictions and there were challenges, because just because my mom and my grandparent talk about it, it doesn't mean everyone in our family embrace it, even to this day. They're more likely to embrace European heritage, some people. But I think what I found over the past few years, that a lot of family members are coming around, because you can only deny the truth for so long.
Yeah.
Those of them who those people who weren't interested in talking about Taino, they're coming around now. But it was very hurtful in school to know that people are saying it just didn't make sense. That's also the contradiction, right? It just didn't make sense. We know we're Black. It's really important to know that many of us are, and I always stress that we're intersectional people. We have different ancestors, and we can honor those ancestors. We can honor our European ancestors. We honor our Taino ancestors. We honor our Black ancestors. My Black is visible, and I honor that 24/7. Most people think Taino people are extinct, so I really have to bring that, like I said earlier, into their consciousness, and kind of big it up all the time and be proud of them. Because I mean, I took that to the Canadian government when I felt that I was being discriminated against, and I talk about having both Black and Taino ancestry, and they had to listen to me, and in turn they kind of turn around because they know they can't do that. So I think it's important to, it was difficult, even though you know it was difficult, because there's so many around you that say no, or some people say you just don't want to be Black.
Yeah.
Home.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for sharing. It's as you know, it's something that is near and dear to heart. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
I just wanted to say, and following up, and again, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful discussion. That this is a process of discovery, and it is an evolving thing. And one of the contradictions for me growing up, and even now, is that we have had let us say, as it's presented to us, the extinct Arawaks on our coat of arms since independence. And I have often wondered, we know so much about, or we try to know much about other national heroes and nationalities and history. But it was always these two silent people. And I always wondered, well, who are they? Who are these people? Where did they come to life? And for me, it's a fascinating thing. And it certainly seems to me like the time is now, among so many things, that we take these people, well, again, take them off the cross, as it were, and explain and know and, yes, flourish. So, for me, and I've mentioned this to Kasik and others, that, it's always been this contradiction with the Arawaks on our coat of arms, but yet we don't know them. So thank you again for this uncovering this, archaeological, spiritual, ancestral journey. And I would just like to say that I know for a fact that Colonel Frank Lumsden would be very, very proud and very happy to see what is happening here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. With that, I am going to hand over just the last few words. I thank you for sharing with us today. I thank you for allowing me to share a piece of myself throughout this day. And now I hand over the vote of thanks to Kasike.
All right. Hahom morokotino aketenu semino dayukono dataino wayukayeke. Thanks to the ancestors, our relatives who've come from near and far. We give thanks to our community, to our families, to our tribe, to our people, for this opportunity to share and to connect in a good way. We shared some links there for our supporters, our collaborators, and there is much more to come. As I said, this is a launch. So, it's from this point, things taking off. Colonel Douglas spoke towards some of the activities. We'll have our in-person celebration, the fundraiser still happening, so you guys can support that. There's a link for the Olive Maxam bursary that Tekina Eri Inaru has established, so it can help some students that want to continue with Masters in Education, that are Taino students, that are Black students, that are Indigenous students. There is Charlestown celebration coming up after. There is going to be Cromanti Fest there. Following that, Scotts Hall celebration in August 1st. Then there is Moortown celebration. So there is a lot, and our heart is overwhelmed. We look forward to seeing some of you face to face, and we'll continue to connect and to share. So we give thanks to the committee that has come together and put things together for this virtual celebration, and those who are taking care of the in-person celebration as well. So in closing, as everybody moves on throughout the day, sharing a song that is from some of our Indigenous relatives. The group is called Ulali, and the song is called For All My Relations.
And we are right on time, 10 minutes to 2.
To our elders who teach us of our creation and our past, so we may preserve Mother Earth for ancestors yet to come, we are the land.
This is dedicated to our relatives before us, thousands of years ago, and to the 150 million who were exterminated across the Western Hemisphere in the first 400 years' time, starting in 1492.
To those who have kept their homelands, and to the nations extinct due to mass slaughter, slavery, deportation, and disease unknown to them, and to the ones who are subjected to the same treatment today. To the ones who survived the relocations, and the ones who died along the way. To those who carried on traditions and lived strong among their people. To those who left their communities by force or by choice, and for generations no longer know who they are.
To those who search and never find, to those that turn away the so-called non-accepted, to those that bring us together, and to those living outside keeping touch, the voice for many.
To those that make it back to live and fight the struggles of their people, to those that give up and those who do not care, to those who abuse themselves and others, and those who revive again, to those who are physically, mentally, or spiritually incapable by accident or by birth, to those who seek strength in our spirituality and ways of life, and those who exploit it, even our own, to those who fall for the lies and join the dividing lines that keep us fighting amongst each other.
To the outsiders who step in, good or bad, and those of us who don't know better. To the leaders and prisoners of war, politics, crime, race, and religion, innocent or guilty.
To the young, the old, the living, and the dead. To our brothers and sisters and all living things across Mother Earth, and her beauty we've destroyed and denied the honor that the Creator has given each individual.
The truth that lies in our hearts, all my relations.